It is finally time, brothers and sisters. We shall go to Agartha, or at least we should understand a little bit better what's going on here with these memes. Uh, I do believe we're gonna end up even more confused by the end of the stream. But you know what? I think that's fine. I think I want to sneeze, so if I do, please understand. It also makes sense that we we can just jumpstart White Boy Summer with this pretty hot but still spring day. I mean, it is June, but it is still spring. Funny enough, doesn't feel like it, I know, but you know how it is. You know how it is out here. Oh, huh. Agartha. The whole Agartha stuff is really funny. The one of the first things I found when trying to research for today was a bunch of very strange videos on YouTube that were teaching math, which I mean, sure that's good. Teaching math, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Those videos were using uh, Blonde Charlie Kirk for some reason, and Yakub. Who is Yakub? Don't worry, we will get to that. We will get to that. I think it's fair to say this is probably one of the most schizophrenic things I've ever seen in my life. Not just because of the Agartha, but all of the ramifications. It's really strange. But you have to understand, this is not just a meme. Some people literally believe everything that's going on with this. It's very weird. I do appreciate the memes, but it feels a bit scary to think that some might be maybe a little bit too far gone. It is a little bit odd, I will give you that. Okay, I would say it's rather hot today. I don't have my water, but we're gonna be doing a lot of yapping. So it is likely I might run out of water, and I will need to, uh, I'll wake up, um, get up, and refill my water. So if that happens, well, we can take, a tiny short break, right? There's not a huge problem when we do that. Oh, brother. Oh, brother. Well, if we're gonna talk about Agartha and all of these memes, I think it's only fair for me to. Oh, jeez, what's wrong with me? I keep forgetting stuff. I keep forgetting stuff. It's not fair. It's not fair. I will say this was the hit, and that will be my massive cope. I kinda forgot to bring up the chat as usual. I don't know that's happening recently to me. It shouldn't be the case, but hey, here we are. Alright, let me move some stuff around. Wait, did I miss anything? Wait, did I miss anything? Everything is fine and dandy, as they say. I don't know why suddenly I'm starting to forget that. It doesn't make any sense to me. But here we are. Here we are. Okay. Whoa. Okay. All right. I think stuff is a little bit laggy today for no real reason whatsoever. So we'll see what happens. Since I felt that, I will also say that I moved everything to Brave, the tabs that I have for today. So it should be a little bit better for us. And we also have some Google Chrome stuff we need to cover on Saturday. It's not for today. But I will also tell you, it's not looking good either. It's looking pretty bad. If you're still using Google Chrome, don't. It's not good for you. That's all I'm gonna say right now. But it's not great. It's not looking good at all. As I was trying to say, since we're talking about Agartha and all of these very strange memes, I think it's only fair for me to bring my limits and become a super Aryan. What was the thing? Like this? There we go. There we go. We don't do this lightly, okay? Please understand. We have some music. I think it only makes sense for us to have some Zelda music. I mean, the guy is blonde, so there's that. I think that makes sense. I think that makes sense. Where is it? It's... I mean, 7 hours and a half. It's probably enough for us. And I need to mid here. There we go. That seems good. That seems good to me. Okay, alright. Yeah, this is just not looking good. This is just not looking good in general. This is gonna be a bit strange. But oh well. Oh well. It's probably fine. Not much I can do about it. I do think there's a lot of weird stuff going on with YouTube recently again. I'm trying to see if everything is working. I think everything is working. I don't know if it's working as intended, but that's a different issue. I shouldn't be having to contend with this anymore, but then again, it's YouTube, isn't it? Not much we can do about that. Oh well. Oh well. That's a little bit horrid, if I say so myself. Okay, how about we try something else for a second here? Okay, alright. We should have that already, but we can't. Guess it's never that easy. Okay, alright. We're doing our best. So that should be good enough. I guess the music too low. It's probably fine. It sounds low on my ears because I have the fag on the side. I think it's probably fine. I don't want the music to be too overpowering either. So there we go. Okay, alright. Let us hope nothing breaks. Let us bring the browser. Yeah, the last thing for the browser was excuse me. The webfoot technology games, that was a bit silly. And as you hear. We need to bring up rape. And I think this should just work. Yeah, seems like it. So what about Agartha? Well, I think we should start with the actual historical context. It's more of a myth than anything else, but still makes sense. Okay, you're right. I'm gonna assume that. Okay. Let me bring this here. So from Historic Mysteries we have this article, Agartha, a culture at the center of the earth, by Bipin Dimri. And to say the name Bipin is a little bit funny. December 22nd, 2022, this is very old mythos actually. It's also kinda funny how there is a movie, an anime movie, that rolls around reaching Agartha. Can they reach Agartha? Well, in the movie they did, I think, so maybe they can. We'll see about that. Here we have a very strange map of the Pacific Ocean. We have Australia, India, China, Siberia on the west. We have the American continent on the right, and we have something really strange here. It's called Plotasia? I guess that makes sense. We have Swang, not to be mistaken with Swag, completely different. Bunch of different locations. Man King, I think I'm gonna say Mankind. I think it makes a little bit more sense. Mankind, it seems, has always been naturally curious. Its drive towards exploration has helped mankind discover many interesting insights about its roots and understand the planet we live on. With the staggering growth in technological advancements, we have been successful in reaching other planets. I mean, kinda, with technology, not ourselves, allegedly. Insane that push us to the brink of immortality, or so they say. This is somewhat the first unofficial conspiracy theory stream by the way. This is really weird. There's a lot of really strange stuff here. So don't mind me. One of the things about this that I find a little bit funny because of the interconnections of everything. So they mention reaching other planets. Not something we're gonna mention too much today, but it's somewhat relevant because this is also related to some extent with aliens. But there are whispers in the underworld or the lower world. I'm not quite sure how to say that. About humanity as actual humans traveling to different planets using, I don't want to say portal technology, I guess I should say wormholes of some sort. That's very weird. It's not something we're gonna cover today, but I think it's kind of funny. I think I'm gonna increase the volume of the music a little bit. I think it's a tad low. Increase it just a little bit. It is strange. It is rather strange. I will give you as much. Maybe some of the time we can cover some of the alien stuff. I do enjoy conspiracy theories a lot, and I do enjoy alien stuff, but I haven't done any research on that. We can cover some alien stuff before on Saturdays because it has some sort of crossover with actual news. That was very weird too. Let us continue. However, the story of Agartha shows how we should also be looking for worlds that are beneath us. The most commonly accepted definition for the structure of Earth follows the layered model, with the Earth having layers of molten magma and the crust covering up the layers. If I have also read that the metal core the depth of planets, most likely made of iron and nickel. I do believe there are many things about hollow things, hollow astral bodies, I guess. This is mostly about Hollow Earth, as we can see down here. I'm a bit unsure, because I don't remember every single detail, if they mentioned the Hollow Moon, which is also kind of funny. It kind of relates to this in a strange way. If we have a bunch of time at the end, we can also look that up, because I think we can relate to this. We may go a little bit shorter today, don't mind me. The Super Aryan form has a time constraint. That's not 5 minutes, thankfully. On the other hand, many people believe that the Earth is hollow, and civilizations have been residing in kingdoms below us, isolated from the world above. The following post helps you unravel some truth about Agartha, the civilization living in Hollow Earth. Is this also related to... it's a Verne book, right? The one about the... going to the... center of the Earth? I don't remember, hold up. Let me... Oh, I pressed the wrong thing, because I'm so used to this being Firefox. Let me check right here. Verne books, center of the Earth. It's not quite. That's more Journey to the Center of the Earth by Jules Verne. Yeah, 1864. Science fiction? Nah, I'm a true believer. I don't think it's quite that. It's more of a Lost World kind of deal, right? I've watched a couple of movies about this. Never read the book. Never really read Verne, I don't think. That's really my fault. But yeah, it feels more primal when you see the images with strange beasts. Usually in the movies they have dinosaurs, so that's also kind of cool. Dinosaurs. Are there conspiracy theories about dinosaurs? I bet there are some. Maybe not enough to fill a 3-hour stream, but that's a different issue. Who or what was Agartha? That's regarding Atlantean and Lemurian kingdoms, which I guess they're also related. We love this stuff about lost civilizations, and I guess it's somewhat likely, right? In the case of the Atlantis, I think it's somewhat possible that there might have been a somewhat advanced civilization. Not saying insanely advanced or anything like that, like just going to space or like more advanced than what we have today. But it was probably a rather impressive civilization back in the day, and it suffered some sort of flood, because as we've seen, which also very interesting, this was also crossover on a Saturday because it was actual news. How does it keep happening? Do we need to do streams about conspiracy theories? I'm not sure anymore. There are many religions, many legends, and many civilizations, they have a huge flaw as part of their, let's say, ancient history. So it's a possibility. It's a possibility that something happened. And maybe it was not something insane, right? It might have been something like, for example, a meteor. Meteor, it falls into the sea and it produces a huge tidal wave. Maybe something like that. Maybe something that had to do with icebergs. Maybe another meteor hitting a cluster of icebergs that melted, so more water. Just spitballing here at this point. I haven't read too much about the Lemurian kingdoms, I will be honest, but I do remember they do appear in Golden Sun, so maybe this is a sign. Maybe we should play Golden Sun at some point. I don't want to play it soon, but maybe we should. I think we have other RPGs to play first, but still. Details regarding Atlantean Lemurian kingdoms have been piquing the curiosity of numerous explorers and mystery enthusiasts worldwide. In addition, mythological references to worlds beneath us, such as Hades' Wonderworld in Greek mythology or the concept of hell in Christianity. I don't think that's so much necessarily worlds beneath us, which is still plausible, but both the Hades and Hell are meant to be fiery wastes, and I'm assuming some of these civilizations at some point looked at possibly just an eruption. It happened in ancient Rome, like, right, what was the name? I don't remember the name in English. It cannot be that different, but still. Hold up. Mount Vesuvius. Yeah, of course. I was thinking of the. Was I thinking of the region? Yeah, I was thinking of Pompeii. Yeah, I was thinking of the region nearby. And if you see that coming from the ground, insane molten rock, extremely hot, you could think that, yeah, that somewhat relates to hell in a way because of the fire component. I can see that. Personally, I can see it. Associated frequently with esotericism and mythology, the cast of Agartha has played a critical role in fueling the popularity of the Hollow Earth theory. You see Hollow, now I can only think of Bleach. Shame. I mentioned Bleach to a friend of mine this morning, that's why. Agartha is described as a utopian city believed to be located in the Earth's core, with its own sun-nourished civilization. It's in a sphere mentioned here. Okay. It's also a little bit funny to me when they mention the sun-nourished civilization. Because I don't think this is a conspiracy theory. Well, it could be. It could potentially be. But allegedly, China, modern day China, okay? I'm not saying ancient China or anything like that. In theory, modern day China is trying to create a mini sun to provide energy. That also sounds a little bit scary, because if it goes wild, that's gonna be a big problem. In theory, from what I remember reading, it's still not cost effective. It needs more energy to stay on than the energy it produces. So yeah, not great. But I do wonder if everything here is related. Is this the theory to break everything? The theory of all theories? Don't want to say it is, but I see many connections. There we go, no, I didn't. The concept of Agartha has been closely associated with Shambhala, a prominent highlighting Vajrayana Buddhism and say Tibetan Kalachakra teachings. I'm gonna butcher some of these names, please understand. Shambhala, also known as Shambhala, but instead of having 2 L's, it has an H after the B. It's related to the seat of governance of Agartha, so maybe that's why you have anime referencing Agartha, because it's actually ancient mythos. That would make sense. The existing assumptions about Agartha imply that the residents have superhuman intelligence and a better way of life as compared to their counterparts above land. If you were that smart, you wouldn't deal with the common folk, so I guess I can believe that one. On the other hand, Hindu mythology suggests that Agartha is the lost land of the Aryavartas are said to be a supreme race of men and women, who had to flee into the caverns and huge tunnels leading to their hidden kingdoms. How many times have I mentioned before? I mean, how's this? How many times have I mentioned before? Hey, maybe I want to go back to living in cave, so I don't have to deal with modern society. Everything is connected. Everything happens for a reason. I think that's really funny. It was not on purpose, I promise. I haven't read this before, and not before mentioning that, of course. Mention the lost city of Zed, Magonia, the Hidden Cloud Realm. Hidden Cloud Realm, that seems more unbelievable. In addition, scriptures also point out that Agartha might be the residence of the Nagas, a race of powerful and magically human half-serpent gods, living at the lowest levels of the Hollow Earth. That is, Patala. I need to be careful when I say some of these nouns, even if we understand what they mean. People might misconstrue what I'm trying to say as some sort of an unspoken spell, so no. You can discover a few analogies with Dante's Inferno while exploring the illustration with the depiction of Hollow Earth in Hindu scriptures. Isn't Dante's Inferno pretty much just fiction? I don't think it has religious basis, but I'm actually not quite sure. I do remember the PSP game. I was a little bit strange. Evidence for existence of Agartha. Actual evidence? Yeah, put me in, chief. One of the earliest concepts for a Hollow Earth was brought forward by none other than Edmund Halley, the discoverer of Halley's Comet. Oh, that guy, that makes sense. Halley proposed the theory in the 17th century, in which he stated that the Earth was made of multiple concentric shells, isolated from each other through individual atmospheres. I mean, it's not entirely wrong, even if you go with the layer approach we consider the mystery explanation. But maybe not quite correct either. In addition, Halley... I want to say that's Haley, but I think that's wrong, right? It's Halley. Or Holly? Like in Hall? I'm not sure. The Anglo names piss me off a little bit sometimes. Also proposed that natural events such as magnetic field variance and the Aurora Borealis. What? Right here. Right now. At this time of the year. Located entirely in your kitchen. We enjoy some steamed hams. Northern Lights. Happening to multiple layers moving independently from each other. Edmund Halley presented his theory in 1692 on the basis of magnetic field radiance and his knowledge of the gravitational pull of Sun and Moon on Earth. I mean, if you consider this to be pseudoscience, or old science, you have to admit the guy is somewhat correct, right? Because I do believe the Northern Lights are a combination of sun activity with the atmosphere, and I want to say the magnetic field, but I'm not entirely sure. That's not the kind of science I know too much about, I'm gonna be honest. Ow. Ow. My back's still not the best. It got better, not as bad as yesterday, but still a little bit rough. People like the idea, and the model of Hollow Earth presented by Edmund Halley was refined over the course of the next few years. Shouldn't we have it here, potentially? The theory of multiple layers of worlds separated by different atmospheres made way for a simpler view of Hollow Earth, where Agartha is a single, large cavern. According to the theory, the Earth has another sun hanging in the center, nourishing a large, habitable environment. This thing about the layer of worlds, when you think about it, many pieces of fiction actually use that as a basis for their world building. There was... well, I guess we can directly mention stuff like Etrian Odyssey. I don't think it's quite the same. I think it's just different, but more accurate to say. Or there are floors of a mega dungeon. But there was this manga. I don't remember the full name. I don't think it got in anime. It was a very weird and very depressing manga that... It had a German name, so I'm gonna make a mistake here trying to Google it. Probably really wrong. It was kinda close, I will give that. I get somewhat close. Okay, I'm gonna go to my animal list. And I'm gonna go to the title. I'm gonna go to... What the... Oh. There we go. Now they changed the name. It used to be Blue, but then it became Bloom on translation, I think. Very strange. I'm pretty sure this got axed. The name is... Yakushoku Dystopiari, or Gesellschafts Bloom. It uses the layer stuff. They also have a really strange hero system, where the hero can become really powerful when he is... or heroes, I guess. I only remember male heroes. When the hero's allies die, so they get a hero compensation, and they get a huge increase to their levels. And they're the only ones, in theory, they can defeat the Demon Lords. It's actually really gory, and the ending is really depressing, because Kenda got axed. 5 volumes, I remember reading this. I mentioned that because the layer stuff is really similar, and if I ever mention the legendary Snot Mage, it's because it appears in that manga. I've not been joking. I wish it was, but I'm not. It's really strange. They have some really unique characters. I will give you as much. Yeah. God damn it, my back. Holy shit. How do I put myself so I'm not collapsing so much? How about this? Okay, that's probably fine. I tend to just sit upright because I'm seriously talking about something, but that's actually not the best. If my back is not in the best condition either. We have... I mean, this probably... Maybe not probably, this could be AI. This is a fiction version of what it could be. Interesting. But the most active proponents of the Hollow Earth after Helmut Halley was John Cliff Symes Jr., who declared that the Earth was undoubtedly hollow. He also sought funds for an expedition to the North Pole, where he could find the aperture for accessing the Hollow Earth. Even if it's actually hollow, I don't think that means you will just find an entrance. I don't think that's how it works. Symes has succeeded in bringing Congress to vote on a proposal for funding his expedition. However, the idea for the expedition was turned down and developed without deemed enthusiasm of Symes. He continued advocating the concept of Hollow Earth, delivering speeches, writing articles, and conducting debates till his death. I don't think traveling to the inner parts of Earth is gonna be easy. There are a couple of movies that deal with that too, of course, but I mean, there are movies, it's just fiction. So it's a little bit whatever. But, technologically speaking, the lower you go, the harder everything becomes. If you're saying anything about mining, which I did back in high school, it becomes really difficult. It kind of becomes really hard really fast. Like, it's summer in Britain, apparently. Much harder than that. And you also have potential troubles, like gas bubbles that could just blow up if you're not careful. Or you could get poisoned with the gas. That's why they had the canneries in the mine. If the cannery died, you had dangerous gas, so get the fuck out of there. That's pretty much how it worked. Any last tank down there? Shit, I wish. The mystery around the whole new world residing inside the Earth is definitely the stuff you would find in Hollywood. And the many proponents have created different models, more or less similar to the one proposed by Symes. No one has ever actually come in contact with the civilization in Agartha. I thought we have the natural Zelda medley. Didn't Tears of the Kingdom have a Hollow Earth kind of mechanic? It was not quite Hollow Earth, but it was something that you could go to the land down below and fight very weird shadowy monsters, right? I remember seeing that. I'm not a big fan of Breath of the Wild Zelda games. Funny, everything comes together. Everything happens for a reason. However, Admiral Richard E. Byrd of the US Navy, an explorer, had an interesting story that raised curiosity about the type of people living on this hollow Earth. All the entries in his diary after his flight over the North Pole, on one of his exploration trips to the Arctic regions, sets possible evidence about Agartha and its people. Very interesting. I find it really interesting when we're talking about conspiracy theories and absolutely the range of stuff, and suddenly you get not proof, but uh, stories directly from military people. Not saying they are right, but it's, as I usually say, it's not just a redneck drunk on moonshine. So there might be something there. Doesn't mean that Agartha is real, but it means there's some strange stuff. We also have seen this with aliens. That's why we should give credence to that. If you may have military people from the US, it's not, oh well, if you're living in a different place, let's say any country in Europe, and you see really strange spacecraft or airships or whatever, and you don't know what they are, you could think, okay, potentially, this could be an American experiment because they're real advanced in comparison. Who knows what they have, really? But when you have American military saying that, could be another branch of the military doing really strange experiments. But I think it gives it a little bit more credence. There's something strange going on. Some people say, ah, it's the Chinese, ah, it's the Russians. I don't know. Maybe it's just little people, who knows. Then to the entry of Admiral Byrd, he was intercepted by a sort-of-shaped aircraft in midair. He stated that the people living in the center of the Earth had the use of advanced technology for piloting his aircraft midair or landing. Which is a bit scary when you're flying around and something else takes control of your aircraft. That's really creepy. Speaking of saucers, not necessarily alien, they usually mention that they have their strange moment. They somewhat ignore some laws of physics, which sounds a little bit weird and scary, but it makes sense. If you can somewhat ignore inertia, or if you can somewhat ignore, I don't know, friction to some extent, that will make those aircrafts really powerful, because the maneuverability will be just perfect, or pretty much perfect. I don't wonder if there's something about that as a grain of truth too. The diary of Admiral Byrd also states that he was greeted by emissaries of the mysterious land of Agartha. However, serious doubt has been cast on these entries in the diary of Admiral Byrd, and he may have never made it to the North Pole in his explorations. Oh. Well. It doesn't mean they're always trustworthy, but gives a little bit more credence to the theories. Irrespective of the credibility of the writings by Admiral Byrd, it is important to note the similarities between his account and the description of ancient civilizations of Atlantis and Lemuria. Even today, you can find evidence of fishy skeletons and fossilized reefs in the old regions north of the Himalayas. It's believed that Shambhala or Shangri-La lies. That actually has a very simple explanation. Sorry to be that guy, but it's actually simple to explain. Sure, you may have fossilized reefs there, but that's because of tectonic plates. Maybe at some point they were deep in the ocean, so sediment accumulated and you had those fossils, but then they moved and just crash against another plate, and whoop, they went up, creating the Himalayas. If we... Let me look up a map of the tectonic plates. Yeah, I think that's quite likely, right? Which one do we like? This one seems somewhat big. Let me bring this up for a second. Rather unimpressive explanation. But I think it's likely, to say the least. If you look at the plates, the Himalayas are pretty much here, which is a limit between tectonic plates. So, if the Indian plate crashed against the Eurasian plate, it may have gone up, creating the mountains. I think that's quite likely. I know, not really funny, not really deep, not a lot of mysticism, but I think that one is actually pretty easy to explain. Before the cataclysmic events that made the world as it is today, it was said that the people who resided above found ways to safeguard their knowledge and civilization from incoming disasters, and gonna be real. Very smart. Here they felt protected from the floods and cataclysms which they feared would cover the earth. Even though that is true, I don't think that makes you immune to volcanic eruptions. Depends on the location, I guess. And earthquakes. It will make you weaker to those. But they could have a countermeasure, I suppose. It's funny they mention floods again. While there could be no evidence for truth behind the existence of civilizations more advanced than us beneath the surface, the stories offer some capsules for thought. Could it be possible that we have an actual hidden kingdom thriving beneath our world? Do they have an involvement in our world? You know what? I can't believe that one. What will we do when we discover the existence and knowledge they have hidden from the world? They will probably get rid of us. The quest for truth could one day remove the shrouds of mystery over the possibilities of a hollow earth. So this is pretty much the facts of the myth. But of course, there is more. We can go to Know Your Meme to say the history of the meme itself. I did it 6 months ago, that's kind of funny to me. About they have a short explanation here. Agartha's mythological and mystical kingdom said to be located underground within the inner surface of the earth. The theory of Agartha is a popular subject in hollow earth theories and Western esotericism, which is distinct from both Judeo-Christian religion and London rationalism. I think it should be paganism, right, in general. In meme culture, Agartha sometimes go out into discussions about Hyperborea, which it's actually correct. If you've seen the image used for the YouTube thumbnail, people use that to represent Agartha. It's actually meant to be Hyperborea. Different location, but similar myth, I suppose. With people joking about finding a portal to Agartha and making ironic, airing classic videos. In 2025, a number of memes combining Agartha imagery and White Monster energy drinks began going viral on TikTok. Why White Monster, you might ask? Apparently White Monster is just usually related to very trashy white Americans for some reason. Or millennial boomers. Both are correct. Making another semi-ironic resurgence in the myth. In November 2025, a juvenile attacked the mosque in Jakarta, Indonesia, carrying an entire rifle with the words "For Agartha" written on it, as well as references to other notable white supremacist mass shooters. Maybe don't do that. Maybe don't try to shoot places. That's bad. Hot take. I know. Candles, we have to mention it from time to time, though. The origin. And it's about the last underground city of Agartha can be traced as far back as the year 1910, with French physician, hypnotist, and occultist and Gerard Cause, editing and republishing another account by a fellow occultist. After World War I, the German Film Society, closely associated with Nazism, began to take an interest in Agartha. I mean, the Nazis and strange mysticism, classic couple. American esoteric writer Raymond W. Bernard also expressed an interest in Agartha, with the diagram below showing a map of Hollow Earth as well as the entrance to Agartha. And the Dance Races, Central Song, man-made tunnels. Do they have any from New York? I could believe that. Well, they have to Kentucky Cave, maybe. Who knows? Mountains higher than dangling outside. That's a bit weird. City of Shambhala. Mentioning the city here. Ocean. Cave city of semi-advanced race. Spaceship base. To and from other galaxies. Holy shit, we're going to space with this one! That's pretty impressive. Okay, we have California and Italy for reference here. Pretty interesting. This atom blast of the rushes back to Earth. To center of shaft. First bird flight, 1947. Which might not have been true. But who knows? Small entrance, cannot... I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. At the Grasso, Brazil, the Mammoth Cave. You spread. On March 20th, 2021, Redditor Over the Berlin walls, post a meme to r/trollface incident about Germans opening the gates to Agartha, gathering over 1,000 up dudes in 3 years. Same below, left. On February 20th, 2023, iFunny user Moloch Bunch of Numbers and Ace posted a joke about the entrance to Agartha gathering over 1,000 smiles in a year. Same below, right, that's Minecraft. I think this is a reference to a bigger YouTuber, but I have no idea. On November 30th, 2023, ex-user Rawing Nationalist made a post that read, Agartha, the whole earth. All of it is real. The post got over 3,000 likes. I mean, 3,000 is good, but it's not in giga viral. It's pretty modest. On March 1st, 2023, ex-user Howley Mutant, very well known funny man, made a post that read, this is how you stand at the gates of Agartha when you see a swarthy Italian trying to enter. Getting over 2,000 likes in a week. Which is kind of funny because I do believe this guy here, depicted, is a man named Fabio, which is actually an Italian. Are Italians white or not? Well, I actually have no idea. Depends who you ask. So, sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. How does it work? It doesn't. I have to admit, the image goes pretty hard. As the ocean discovered beneath the Earth's crust containing more water than on the surface. I haven't seen that. We might need to look that up, if it's actually real. 2024 TikTok revival. Oh my god. Washed. Absolutely washed. Ironic memes about the Agartha gained traction on TikTok in 2024. Often the vein of airing classic TikToks that aim to mock white supremacist beliefs about Hyperborea. On April 30th, TikToker Microbian Warlord posted a Drifty meme that referenced Yakub and Agartha, gathering over 260,000 plays and 20,000 likes in a week. Seems kinda small for TikTok, but it's probably fine. On March 2nd, TikToker I Blame Alark posted a video about Agartha gathering over 400,000 plays and 60,000 likes in a week. Same below, to the right. We only have one. What happened to the other? That's a bit strange. I'm assuming this is the second one. Because we don't see Trotsky in the image. But I could be wrong, who knows. 2025 Agartha White Monster Energy memes. In 2025, a series of memes like linking Agartha with the White Monster Energy drink began making the rounds on TikTok. These memes were often accompanied by a remix of the song Down Under by Men at Work by Lude. A YouTube upload of the remix gathered over 40 million views in 4 years. I will play it if I didn't fear YouTube's copyright blasting me in the ass, so please understand. On October 20th, 2025, TikToker Ingurious CS2 posted the CSGO video edited to include the message from a blonde and blue-eyed Charlie Kirk, as well as a white Monster Energy drink that sports the player to Agartha. The video gathered over 2 million plays and 400,000 likes in a month. I think I've seen this one. It's very schizophrenic. On October 23rd, TikToker Tony Manton posted a similar video showing a number of armed men opening a portal to Agartha using a gang of white Monster Energy. The post got over 1 million views and 100,000 likes in a month. And they mentioned the bombing here. 25 Indonesia for Agartha bombing. They're taking things way too literally. Not good. On November 7th, 2025, in a series of explosions during Friday prayers at the mosque inside SMA Negeri 72, as the name of the location, don't mind me if it sounds like something else, in Kelapa-Gading, Jakarta, injured over 50 people, mostly students. Authorities identified the 17-year-old student as the primary suspect. Investigators reportedly found toy weapons at the scene, described with slogans like 14 words for Agartha and Brenton Tarrant, welcome to hell, similarly referencing the Christchurch shooter. Part of the toy rifle with the slogan sold on it shown below. It looks pretty realistic, and we'll give you that. It's kinda funny how they mention it here. For Agartha, he said, you aren't even white. According to a statement given by Detachment 88 at a pretty unfortunate name, an Indonesian counter-terrorism squad, the underage attacker acted independently while taking inspiration from a number of white supremacist or neo-Nazi shooters. White supremacists. Browner than you might expect, it keeps happening. The spokesperson is personally named Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. Dylan Roof, Alexander Bisonet, Vladislav Rozlyakov, Brenton Trant, and Natalie Lynn Rupnov as figures who may have inspired the attacker. I don't know any of those names. I think I'm doing fine then. Some internet has reported memes about what could compel a young man in Indonesia to take the act of violence to Agartha, including Instagram page do_Duru, who wrote, "The type of content bro watches before blowing up an entire school, writing some right-wing extremist figure and the phrase for Agartha, on a $10 airsoft gun." Oh, airsoft, that makes sense. On November 7th, 2025, and got over 10,000 likes in a week. I don't want to scroll too much because we're gonna see some dangerous slurs here and there, so maybe that would be ill-advised. Don't wanna get blasted in the ass just because somebody got a little bit too silly, a little bit too happy, you know. Now then, we have mentioned this enigmatic figure of Yakub several times. Who is this man? Who is this individual? Well. Prepare for a big drop here. Because this is a really strange tale of the nation of Islam, which is not necessarily mainstream Islam, but it's still really weird. And some people actually believe this thing that I'm gonna tell you about right now. The first thing I had was from Wikipedia, which seems to be actually pretty accurate, but I know people might take it the wrong way if I use an AI source. So I also brought up the wikiwand.com. Yakub from the Nation of Islam. As you can see here, this is the actual depiction from the guy. Once again, people actually believe this, and we will see some very famous people being named in here in reference to the Nation of Islam. They're weird stuff. Of course, the memes are very ironic, but since people actually believe this, we have to read it. Yakub, also spelled Yakub with a Z or with a Q, normally with a K, is a figure in the mythology of the Nation of Islam and its offshoots. According to the Nation of Islam's doctrine, Yakub was a black American scientist who lived 6,600 years ago and created the white race. And according to the story, following his discovery of the law of attraction and repulsion... Okay, didn't go more in depth here, thankfully. We managed to cover some details thanks to Wikipedia, which what I've seen is actually correct, but still. He gathered followers and began the creation of the white race through a form of selective breeding, referred to as grafting, on the island of Patmos, which is modern-day Greece. Yakub died at the age of 150, but his followers continued the process after his death. According to the Nation of Islam, the white race was created with an evil nature, and were destined to rule over black people for a period of 6,000 years, through the practice of tricknology, which ended in 1914, which is kinda funny. This is World War I. Jacob is identified with two biblical figures, the patriarch Jacob, or just Jacob, I'm not sure, and John of Patmos from the Book of Revelation. I'm gonna tell you right now, this is insane fan fiction, okay? If you believe this, you might be in trouble. The story indeed of Jacob originated in the writings of the Nation of Islam founder Wallace Farad Muhammad. Scholars have variously traced its origins, in part thought to the idea of the Jacobites propounded by the Moorish Science Temple, or the historical Battle of Alorcos. Alternatively, said it may have been created with little basis in any other tradition. Scholars have argued the tale is an example of black theodicy, with similarities to Gnosticism with Jacob as the demiurge. I don't think that's a comparison you want to make with a guy, but then again, if the guy is supposed to be evil because he created the white race, well, that's a different thing, isn't it? As well as the fall of man, has also been interpreted as a reversal of the contemporary racist ideas that asserted the inferiority of black people. The Nation of Islam's interpretation of the biblical, I'm going to say Jacob, it's probably wrong, has been criticized for being anti-Semitic. Everything comes together here. It's really funny. The story has, throughout its history, caused disputes within the nation of Islam. Under its current leader, Louis Farrakhan, the nation of Islam continues to assert that the story of Jacob is true, not a metaphor, and has been proven by modern science. The nation of Islam is splintered groups known as the Nubian Nation, the United Nation of Islam, and the 5% Nation share belief in Yaqub, so the Nubian Nation teaches a distinct version of the myth. The figure of Yaqub is not part of mainstream Islam and has been routinely mocked, which of course it would be. If you think this is stupid, wait until we get to the actual quote-unquote history of this individual. The story has influenced popular culture from the 60s onward, particularly hip-hop. Starting in the mid-2010s, Yaqub became the subject of ironic internet memes. So, the original version, it's pretty hilarious. According to the story of Yaqub and the start of human history, a variety of types of black people inhabited the moon. When black god scientists became frustrated that all those living on the moon did not speak one language. This is quite the opposite of the Tower of Babylon. Pretty funny. He blew up the moon. Okay, Piccolo. A piece of the... Maybe that's why Piccolo is meant to be black. Finally understand everything. Holy shit. A piece of this destroyed moon became the Earth. I mean, this is not entirely untrue. It is theorized that modern Earth and modern moon came from a crash of astral bodies. So, I mean, sure, I'm not gonna say this is true or real, but I can see how this could be construed as with a truthful basis. Which was then populated by a community of surviving, morally righteous black people, some of whom settled in the city of Mecca. And gotta be honest, I was about to say something, but I actually don't know, so I'm not gonna say anything. I had to say that, but still. Yaqub was born a short distance outside the city, and was among the third of original black people who were discontented with life in the society. A member of the Meccan branch of the tribe of Shabazz, Yaqub acquired the nickname Big Head because of his unusually large head and arrogance. Once again, this is the depiction of the man. I'm not even joking. At the age of 6, he discovered the law of attraction and repulsion by playing with magnets made of steel. Magnets made of steel. Magnets, how do they work? Well, I can tell you. They are not made of steel. They are made of a type of iron deposit known as magnetite. I don't think you can make a steel with magnetite. So this seems a little bit weird already. He connected this to the rules of human attraction. The unlike people would attract. Manipulate the original like people, which this already a stretch. You could say the opposites attract each other. But this is very, very strange. This is a huge leap in logic. Well, everything here is a huge leap in logic anyway. By the age of 18, he had finished his education and had learned everything that Mecca's universities had to teach him. Well, now he's a successful scientist, because he knows how magnets work, okay? He then discovered that the original black man contained both a black germ and a brown germ. I don't know if I would call those germs, but sure. With the brown being a recessive one, and believed that if he could separate them by grafting, he could graft the brown germ into a white germ. Isn't grafting the thing you do when you cut a branch from a tree and you grow a new tree from that branch? I'm not a green thumb, so I don't know. I think that's correct. Let's see. Oh, not quite. Similar, but not quite. Maybe, I guess it could be a type of grafting. In this case, when they cut the part of a tree and then put another part or another branch on top of that, so they fuse and become something. So, wouldn't it be the opposite of grafting? Because you're separating stuff instead of conjoining stuff. This could be too big head for me, okay? How do you see my head? It's not as big, so maybe it's normal that I don't understand. The insane Netsu plan to create a new people who, using tricks and lies, could rule the original black men and destroy them. But if these original black people are all so smart, I mean, they have a god scientist for crying out loud, how could the black men just lie to them and control them with lies? It doesn't seem possible to me. But then, what do I know? After all, that could also be a lie too. Very strange stuff here. Very strange. He tried to do the following, but caused trouble, leading to making authorities to exile him and his 59,999 followers. 60,000 will be too much. They then went to an island on the agency called Pelon, which Elijah Muhammad identified as modern-day Patmos. Jacob developed Christianity to fool the black people into supporting him and to trick them into not knowing their true history. Once there, he established a despotic regime. I was about to say regimen, but that's different. Starting to breed out the black traits of his followers. This entailed breeding new children, with those who were too dark being killed at birth, and their bodies being fed to wild animals or incinerated. That's crazy! Are we sure eugenics is bad? This is a joke. Yaku died at the age of 150, but his followers carried on his work as he passed down his knowledge. After 600 years, the white race was created. All the races other than the black race were byproducts of Yaku's work, as the red, yellow, and brown races were created during the bleaching process, with the red germ coming out of the brown, the yellow coming from the red, and from the yellow the white. It's kind of funny, because if they were to mention something, it's still deranged, but at least more believable, like alchemy, yeah, alright, I guess I could see a point, right? The alchemical processes are not too distinct to this when you think about it. It's not quite crafting, but you have the same color processes. So you see the connection, you see a possible connection there. It may or may not make sense, but you see something there. I'm just trying to throw them a bomb, okay? Unlikely. Unlike... I don't know if this is gonna work, but still. We're trying here, okay? Okay, alright. I was moving some stuff about. It's also a little bit weird. Or was it? To bring out the black threads from his followers. This reminds me a little bit of a tweet I saw this week. That it was a little bit stupid. It was very stupid, I would say. Hold up, let me stretch my legs a little bit. Because it was trying to talk about racism from the lens of colorism, which doesn't make any sense. And they showed a white-skinned black woman and a white woman, but they have the same skin color. And people were like, yeah, but you can tell that they're still obviously different, and you can tell when they come from where they come from other obvious physical traits. It's not about the skin color, it's more than that, which is obviously correct, right? People from different locations have different looks that are passed down to their kids from their parents. It's normal. Basic genetics, I don't know. And I guess this theory could go further in depth, but at the same time, if it's just changing the color, which we know it's different than that, that's just not enough. Let's keep reading. The brutal conditions of their creation determine the evil nature of the new race. By lying to the black mother of the baby, this lie was born into the very nature of the white baby. And murder for the black people was also born in them. Or maybe in nature, a liar and murderer. They have some citations here. Oh, the citations are at the end. They quote in different books. I think it's always the same book, but still. This is wild. This whole line is absolutely fucking wild to me. As a group of people distinct from the original Asiatic race, I think you mean Asian, the White race are bereft of divinity, being intrinsically prone to lying, violence and brutality. This is really ironic. This is extremely ironic, given current events that we have seen on Thursday. I think it was Thursday. Prone to lying, violence and brutality. Are we sure? Are we sure? Because I'm not. That doesn't mean that white people are, oh, so peaceful. But I don't know if I want to say anything else. According to the nation's teachings, it gives newly created white race sowed discord among the black race, and thus were exiled to live in the caves of Europe, West Asia. In this narrative, it was in Europe that the white race engaged in bestiality and degenerated, losing everything except their language. They were kept in Europe by guards. Elijah Muhammad also asserted that some of the new white race tried to become black, but failed. As a result, they became gorillas and monkeys. It's fine if they say that because they are black, okay? They can say it. This is fucking wild. Holy shit. It's very funny because apparently the modern human is actually born in the Caucasus. Whoops! That's a bit weird. I wonder what they meant by that. Probably some tricks and lies, I bet. To help the whites develop, ruling a lot, then sent prophets to them. First the one who was Musa or Moses, for most people. They taught the whites to cook and wear clothes. Moses tried to civilize them, but eventually gave up and blew up 300 of the most troublesome white people with dynamite. Holy shit, he had dynamite already? That's crazy! And according to the nation, Jesus was also a prophet sent to try and civilize the white race. However, the whites had learned to use tricknology, a plan to use their trickery and lack of empathy and emotion to usurp power and enslave the black population, bringing the first slaves to America. Whoa, 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 whoa! What a huge jump! What the hell? Okay, we went from Jesus to America. That's 1500 years of history there. What the hell? What a jump. Insane. And according to the Nation of Islam doctrine, the Jewish progeny were destined to rule for 6,000 years before the original black peoples of the world regained dominance. The end of which was the year 1914. Hey, that didn't happen. It's been more than 100 years. That didn't happen. I wonder why. Nuovian version. An alternative version of the story was told by the Nuovian Nation, a black supremacist new-religious movement run by Dwight York. York, really? This is your last name? Okay, that's... Whoa! Hey, look at the guy! American criminal, new-religious movement leader. Born 1945. Also known as Malachi Sid York? Yeah, I don't think that's a good name. I don't think that's a good guy. Holy shit! Okay, I haven't read this Nuovian version yet, but I'm seeing some very weird shit. Everything goes together with Agartha, okay? This is set out in a roughly 1700-page book called The Holy Tablets. In the Nuovian telling of the Yakub myth, 17 million years before the first of many intergalactic battles, the ancestors of black people, given a variety of names, including Risiquians, were gods, but subservient to the supreme god. Risiquians lived in another galaxy on a planet known as Rizk. Trying my best to pronounce these names. Which was located in the original Tri-Solar System, which featured a mobile throne / spaceship, Nibiru. Everything comes together for a reason. Holy shit, dude. That's crazy. This is an insane web of strange stories. Intertelling the original protective atmospheric layer of this planet, necessary to protect from the UV rays of these three suns, had been destroyed by an evil being known as the leader of the fallen angels, Shaitan. Shaitan had been asked by the supreme god to move, either off the planet entirely or to a different location on it. He refused and instead set off an atomic explosion, like an H-bomb, destroying parts of the atmosphere. I don't know if an H-bomb can do something like that, but I mean, it's a hydrogen bomb. I guess it's possible. The scientists of the planet were able to repair it with gold, but there wasn't enough gold on the planet. They did excursions into space in the Nibiru to mine gold from the planet Earth, where colonies were established. How do you fix the atmosphere using gold? I understand that gold is meant to be very pure material in alchemy, but this is wild. Everything is coming together here in a really wild way. This is very strange. Their sequence did not want to mine gold, but it was beneath their status as angels. They spliced genes of Homo erectus with their own genomes, producing humankind to do it for them. What if I told you? This is not the first time I read something like this. What if I told you I've seen other people deep in different myths and legends and whatnot talking about how people from outside came to make humans, modern humans I assume, to be workers. Everything comes together when we talk about Agartha. That's crazy. That's very crazy. Humans originally had their psychic abilities, but afterwards in King and Abel, the gland responsible for the psychic powers was removed from the human brain by the recipients. There's also some other people that mention stuff like that. Additional brain powers, but you lose them when you go through the... how do they call it again? I don't remember. The neurological pruning? Something like that? So you might lose some connections in the brain that make it impossible to access these abilities. But for some people, the pruning is not that aggressive, and they can keep them. Apparently also some chemicals affect those, like fluor and whatnot. So that's... well, fluorides in general. So that's a bit strange too. Yaku was born with 2 brains, the novel explanation for the size of his large head, making him a genius capable of gene splicing experiments, which resulted in white people. After his experiments were finished, one of his brains exploded, resulting in his death. What a fucking trip! What the hell am I looking at? That's fucking wild. That's crazy. Holy shit, dude. My goodness. Imagine that. Imagine your brain exploding after making white people. What the hell am I looking at, man? What is going on? You know what? I think we can truly believe everything here. Both versions are factually incorrect. Origins of the story. The story of Yaqub originated in the writings of Wallace Fard Muhammad, the founder of the Nation of Islam, in his doctrinal Q&A pamphlet, Last Found Muslim Lesson Number 2, from the early 1930s. It was developed by his successor Elijah Muhammad in several writings, most following a chapter entitled The Making of Devil in his book Message to the Black Man in America. The story of Yaqub includes Jews as part of a wider artificially created white race. No matter what, no matter the mythos, nobody likes them. How do they manage? In this case, just a case of colorism, to be fair, but still. In the book of Genesis, biblical patriarch Jacob makes a deal with his uncle Laban, divide livestock amongst themselves. The black goats and sheep will belong to Laban, while spotted, speckled, or brown goats will belong to Jacob. After Laban agrees, Jacob blesses wood with white streaks in front of the strongest animals during breeding, so as to produce spotted offspring. He further uses selective breeding to ensure the feeble will be Laban's and the stronger Jacob's. I mean, you can scream about eugenics here, but selective breeding is something we have done since the beginning. Of course you want the cow that gives more milk. Of course you want the pig or chicken that give more egg or more meat. It's nothing insane. After looking what we did to some dogs, maybe we're actually able. Michael Muhammad Knight opines, the prominence of Jacob as not only a controller of animal heredity, but a selfish, scheming deceiver presents him as a natural candidate for the engineer of the white race. If I speak, I'm in trouble. Hold up. Bibble. Jacob Fanta Bibble. Also known as Israel, was an interpreted church in the Hebrew Bible, and the third page records the Israelites serve against the father of 12 tribes of Israel. With the son of Isaac and Rebekah, and the younger twin brother of Esau. Funny. Pretty funny. And there's this strange obsession from some groups to equate Jews to white people. I'm gonna be honest, that's not that. No. White people don't consider Jewish people to be white, and Jewish people don't consider themselves to be white. But it's kind of funny when every single time they accuse white people of something, this evil, these insane lies, deception, everything that's wrong with the world. Other than that, they tend to be Jews. I wonder why. They accuse the white culture of pedophilia. Look at Jeffrey Epstein. I think Epstein is, or was, I assuming the guy is still alive. It's Jew, man. I don't know how to tell you this, man. You think you're wrong. I think you could be wrong here, pal. I'm trying to measure my words properly, you know. This is way too spicy for us. But still. And now here comes something potentially unexpected for some people. In his speeches, Malcolm X completely identified Jacob with Jacob of Genesis. Referring to the story of Jacob wrestling with the angel, Malcolm X states that Elijah Muhammad told him that Jacob was Jacob, and the angel that Jacob wrestled with wasn't God. It was the government of the day. This was because Jacob was seeking funds for his expedition to Patmos. So when it says Jacob wrestled with an angel, angel is only used as a symbol to have the one he was really wrestling with. Why you speak? I'm in trouble. I don't want to say too much. I think I've already said enough. However, Malcolm X also states that Jacob of Patmos was also Jacob, and the book of Revelations refers to his deeds. John was Jacob. He was out there getting ready to make a new race, he said, for the word of the Lord. It's probably the least charitable possible reading of the Bible you can get, in my opinion. And I'm not a Bible guy. Jacob wrestling with an angel, 1655 by Rembrandt. It doesn't look too much like wrestling, but I'm willing to believe it. Ernest Starling argues that the Jacob myth may have been created out of the whole cloth by Prophet Fard. Alan says the Jacob story could conceivably have been influenced by a real historical event during the struggle between Muslims and Christians for control of Spain. Holy shit! Everything is connected! That's wild! Muslim leader Abu Yusuf Yaqub al-Mansur, this time Yaqub written with a Q, defeated the Franks at the Battle of Alarcos, 1195. After the battle, 40,000 European prisoners of war were taken to Morocco to labor in Yaqub's building projects. But then I meant to believe the white people are the evil ones, by the way. Whoops! How strange. They were then set free and allowed to form a valley settlement located somewhere between Fez and Marrakesh. At his deathbed, the Jacob lamented his decision to allow the Shibanese, as they came to be called, to form an enclave on Moroccan soil, thereby posing a potential threat to the stability of the Moorish Empire. Well, isn't that kinda funny? Isn't that kinda funny? Everything is connected, everything is just the same. Do you think these guys might have had, maybe, perhaps, dare I say, perchance, it's the perfect problem? Isn't that curious? Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed since then. Isn't that very funny? It is very funny, at least to me. Hilarious, I'm gonna say. Ah, brother. Instead of Nerding says that a more direct source was the destroying of the Jacobites or Jacobites. were founded by Timothy Drew's Mush Science Temple, to which Fard may have belonged before he founded the Nation of Islam. According to Drew, early pre-Columbian civilizations were founded by a West African Moor named Jacob, who landed the Yucatan Peninsula. Those people evolved into a race of scientific geniuses with large heads. Those followers said this was supported by the large heads of the already colossal heads, which they claimed reflected African features. Nothing argues this indicated that the Cube myth was influenced by the Moorish Science Temple's theology. Okay, I'm willing to believe that it was not Spain, the first one to reach the the American continent, but that should go to the Vikings, not West Africans. Absolutely not. Also, if they were scientific geniuses, why were they enslaved? I'm not talking about the Spaniards here. I'm talking about the what was their names again? The Aztecs? Might have been the Aztecs. It's been a while since I read about this. How about that? That's why they actually lost. Because they were... so many tribes were enslaved. And they were like, oh yeah, sure, we'll join the Spaniards here. Seems like a big deal, seems like a good deal. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, that seems pretty good. But then again, if you say that, suddenly you're some sort of supremacist and you're very apologetic about some other stuff. Well, are you really a slave? If you get what you want, thank you, Vegeta, for that line. And comments on the story's spatial setting in ancient Greece. He notes that scientific journals of the day systematized infanticide in ancient Greece as crucial for building a nation and advancing civilization. Did they? I'm not quite sure. I know enough about Greece. Part just took the science of his day and flipped it to inspire the oppressor or the excuse the oppressors. I mean, they could be talking about Sparta and their insane training for young people, but I don't think it's quite the same. In fun science, eugenics in ancient Greece only made the devil who will rape the earth until his time ran out. This still goes. Beyond the nature of Islam in some shoots, the Cuban story attempts to rationalize black suffering through the lens of Islamic theology. Even for those members who refuse to take the story literally, it provides the useful metaphor for racial relations and oppression. Elijah Muhammad repeatedly referred to whites as the devil. The nation maintains that most white people are unaware of their true origins, but that such knowledge is held by senior white Freemasons. Alright, sure thing. You know what? Fuck it. I believe it too. Why not? It's kinda funny. It's very funny here when the first line here is rationalize black suffering through the lens of Islamic theology. Did you know that back in the day, the Muslims back in the day, they took a lot of black slaves? And some people are wondering, then why don't you see black people in those locations anymore? How is that possible? Well, despite what you might think about white people and their deeds of slavery through history, which I'm not gonna defend, these Muslims castrated every single one of them. So I don't think Islam is necessarily the friend of black people either. But who am I to judge? After all, I could be one of these white people. Look at me. Look at me. Blue eyes, blonde hair. Clearly a master of technology. That's crazy. They also keep mentioning the Middle East. Yeah, I wouldn't say the Middle East had a huge amount of black people, not even back in the day. But that's a different conversation. Arabic people, Persians, sure. Maybe some Greek, maybe some Macedonian, maybe some Indians, potentially, sure, whatever. Black people, 6,000 years ago? I'm gonna say quite unlikely. Quite unlikely. Not impossible, of course, but still. That view is not present or substantiated in mainstream Islam. As a result, it has led to controversy. In his autobiography, Malcolm X notes that in his travels in the Middle East, many Muslims reacted with shock upon hearing about the character of Yaqub. Malcolm founded his own religion organization, Muslim Mosque Inc. He did not carry over the concept of Yaqub. Ms. Farka restated the original Nation of Islam, and he reasserted his belief in the literal truth of the story of Yaqub. In 1996 interview, Aaron Louis Gates, chairman of Harvard University's Afro-American Studies Department, asked him whether the story was a metaphor or literal. Farrakhan claimed that aspects of the story had been proved accurate by modern genetic science, and stated that, personally, I believe that Yaqub is not a mythical figure. He is a very real scientist. And not big head silly thing, as they would like to say. I do believe that some of these proving accurate by science, not necessarily about genetics. I think they refer to, yeah, magnets work. Wow. Holy shit, are we sure about that? So I don't think this guy is a understanding scientist, but I could be wrong too. Farrakhan's periodical, The Final Call, continues to publish articles asserting the truth of the story, arguing that modern science supports the accuracy of Elijah Muhammad's account of Yaqub. The 5% Nation and the United Nation of Islam, both of which are Nation of Islam splinter groups, also believe in the Yaqub doctrine. 5% Nation founder Clarence 13 eggs? Are these Elon Musk seeds or what? What is these names? They're destroying an interest direction. Take white disciples. I don't know if I like that. Very strange. We have commentary and culture. Nuts references, we can ignore nuts and references. Commentary. And writes that the tale of Yaqub has been routinely mocked by outsiders, and that many people will find far stories difficult to take seriously. I mean, can you blame me? It is very far-fetched. Harold Bloom, his book The American Religion, argues that Yaqub combines elements of the biblical God and the Gnostic concept of the demiurge. Is it said demiurge in English? I'm used to the original demiurgus. Kinda to blame the Japanese because of the animes and whatnot. Said that Yaqub has an irksome memorability as a crude but pungent nasty demiurge. Nathaniel Deutsch, as another Father Muhammad, drawn the concept of the demiurge, along with traditions of esotericism and biblical interpretation, absorbing aspects of biblical tales to the new narrative, such as the sword of the Muslim wars keeping the white devils from paradise, and the flaming sword of the angel protecting the Garden of Eden in Genesis. Isn't that, Michael? Maybe not. Maybe not. Supernatural weapons. Are we sure? Yusuf Nordin also compared the Yaqub story to the Genesis story, with the opposing group to the initial utopian society being comparable to the snake in the Garden of Eden. Yeah, I didn't make that connection, but I think it's pretty obvious, yeah. In his view, the story of the later of the later expulsion of Yaqub was comparable to the expulsion of Adam and Eve, as well as the fall of man. Everything comes together here. Everything happens for a reason. Very funny. I need to blow my nose for a little bit, so I'm gonna mute for a second. Skin around my nose is spilling heavily because I blew my nose way too many times on Monday, but it was necessary. Edward Curtis called the story a black theology, a story grounded in a mythological view of history that explained the fall of black civilization, the middle passage from Africa to the Americas, and the practice of Christian religion among slaves and their descendants. I mean, the practice of Christian religion is not that strange when the location you're going to is still a Christian country. You're going to adopt their religion from the country, especially if you're a slave, or else. Also, you mentioned the Black civilization. Didn't have a incitation here, so you know, you know. Stephen C. Finley, also called the Theodicy, several commentators state that the story, by associating blacks with ancient high civilizations and whites with cave-dwelling barbarians and gorillas, both use and spectacularly reverses the populist and scientific racism of the era, which identified Africans as primitive or closer to apes than whites. Not to be that guy. Not to be that guy. But we can see there are stark differences in IQ levels between regions. Not gonna say it's because of the race, but I'm gonna say this is something that is shown. Everything gonna say it. Don't wanna get banned too hard, okay? This drew on early criticisms of white supremacist Nordicism, creating a mythic version of attacks on Anglo-Saxon lineage and behavior that had been voiced by more mainstream black thinkers during the 19th century. Attacks on Anglo-Saxon lineage and behavior. Holy shit, does this seem familiar to you? I would say so. I would say so. Is this from a cultural standpoint how to say this? Is this the birth of current problems with races in the West? I will say that Germans in the 30s and 40s have a little bit to do with that too, but that's a different issue. Curious. Apparently attacks on Anglo-Saxon lineage and behavior. Completely justified. Hey, have you seen that thing in Belfast? I have. More on that on Saturday. More on that on Saturday. Fiery, but mostly peaceful, remember. With these references, the nation of Islam Muslims replicated the images of European savagery in the Middle Ages that were so pervasive in 19th century black racial thought. Lee is a contradiction in the story where blackness is always good, but still capable of evil. Blackness is always good. Doesn't that seem a little bit too on the nose? Haven't we seen something like this in recent times too? Regarding current events, it keeps happening. More on that on Saturday, allegedly. With the Carmelo Anthony case, which I do believe was pretty cookie cutter, I stumbled upon, which I didn't say, but that's my bad, a video of a guy that was talking about something similar to this. But it was, and I quote, woke logic, woke racial logic. Black, no matter what they do, it's innocent, and it's good. White, no matter what they do, it's evil. And it's, if I say evil and bad, it's literally the same. But it's always evil. Therefore, it doesn't matter what happened in the Carmelo Anthony case. Since it was a black kid, innocent by default for them, stabbing a white kid, evil by default for them, it's something good, and this Carmelo Anthony guy did nothing wrong. But that's not how truth works. That's not how reality works. I did not expect to make that comparison today, but it's kind of funny that it happened. Oh, weird. Well, as I mentioned already several times, everything is connected thanks to Agartha. And this is only tangentially related, okay? We still have to go through Hyperborea. But this is such a huge insane thing that's also related to the Agartha mythos, or at least the Agartha memes. We have to cover it. It's so strange. And remember, some people truly believe this as fact. Very strange, very crazy. Let's keep reading this. So if I take the story of Jacob as an allegory, where is the Muhammad? I know they always have the Muhammad name, but it keeps happening. It makes me laugh every single time. Take his father's Elijah Muhammad's teaching about Yakub and his white devils to represent the state of mind. Like I said, the story is pseudoscience, but stress of eugenics, that eugenics was considered science during Ford's epoch. I mean, eugenics is a part of science, not a part you need to like, but it's obviously part of science. I feel the Yakub story is more scientific than the resurrection of Jesus, or the claim that Muhammad rode a flying horse to enter paradise to converse with dead prophets. Okay, hold up, two things. First of all, resurrection of Jesus. I mentioned many times, I'm actually not religious. Of course, I come from a Christian culture because I'm European. I wouldn't say my home was very Christian or anything like that, but the values are there. So, I'm saying this from a religious standpoint. I'm saying this from more of a scientific standpoint. And there's a relic that is held in some place in Italy, I believe. I don't think it's the Vatican, I think it's Italy. Known as the Holy Shroud. That is the clothing that was used to cover the dead body of Jesus. It has very strange markings that are pretty anachronistic. They are akin to those of nuclear radiation. And that's supposedly maybe not the proof, but somewhat the argument that can be made, actually, to say, yeah, something happened here, and Jesus, which we know was an actual guy, actually came back to life. So I don't think that makes any sense. Second point, which maybe I'm mixing stuff here, because flying horses are not exclusive to Muhammad. We have seen flying horses in ancient Greece and Norse mythology, after all, Pegasus and Sleipnir. Flying horse into paradise to converse with dead prophets. Didn't we do something like that in Dragon Quest 6? Funny, I think it was meant to be some sort of Pegasus, but still. A strange connection, I know, but I had to mention it. Ned says that the narrative of Yakub was useful for him, as he used it to recount with the social construction of race and white privilege. I know they had to mention it at some point, but the mere concept of white privilege makes me young. A little bit. Societal privilege based on skin lightness. That is not true. I'm gonna be really fast about debunking white privilege. It's not that you're privileged because of your white. You have quote-unquote privilege if you are white in Europe or white in the US, traditionally speaking. If you're white in white countries, because it means you have a long lineage, and your ancestors left you something. Maybe they left you money, maybe they left you education, maybe they left you trade skills. They left you something. That's the privilege. It's not actually a privilege, it's something normal. You will want your kids to be better off than you, so you will teach them your skills and then some, and you will want to leave them more money than you had at that age. It's nothing insane, but I think it's privilege, because of course, we cannot perceive how different people are actually different. But there are many ways of being different. Being different is not necessarily bad. If you go to a completely different place, you're gonna have trouble. If I went tomorrow to try and live in China, I would have a lot of trouble, despite me being European. Because of course, you would be better off as a Chinese man in China. I don't know the Chinese language. I can maybe understand the culture a little bit. I don't think it's so deranged that it's impossible for me to adapt to it. But I would be, of course, in trouble. I know not too much about the country, I don't know the language. Is that being oppressed? No, that's an obvious consequence of the action of going to different place. It doesn't mean that the Chinese have a Chinese privilege. Do you think they're privileged when they are under a colonist regime? I don't think so. Some people will say so, but no. From that perspective, Knight says the Yakub myth is absolutely true. He believes that the meanings of the myth are malleable. Well, here's his technology now. Ines J. Polanc contextualizes the narrative as part of the Nation of Islam's anti-Semitism. Okay, sure, let them fight. You know what, let them fight. That's fine. Why not? The Nation of Islam claims the Jews were not the chosen people of God, but that black people were. It's really funny. Everybody wants to be the chosen people of God. But I think it's very obvious. From what I've seen, once again, I'm not a Bible kind of guy, I'm not a religious guy. This is second/third hand knowledge. But isn't the chosen people of God the followers of Jesus Christ according to Christianity? So as long as you follow the teachings of Christianity, wouldn't you be chosen by God? Which is tangentially related, I think I mentioned this before at some point, but it kind of pisses me off. The current branches of, I think there are evangelicals and Baptists in the US, especially in the government, because they have this insane obsession with Israel, and because they attach the modern state of Israel to the religious Israel, which they have nothing to do with each other pretty much. They try to force the prophecies to come on through and whatnot. But it is insane when you have alleged Christians saying, oh yeah, but the chosen people of my God is this other group of people. If you're not the chosen people of your God, your religion is ass. I'm sorry, there's no other way of putting it. Right? If I were to go back to Christianity with, I don't see it happening, but I guess it's possible. My sister did, and she was way worse than me in that regard. So there's that, right? Of course I should be the chosen people of my God, right? You are giving yourself to the God, which is something seen as virtuous. Why don't you have any reciprocity here? That's so strange. I don't think I'm going insane when you say shit like that. But then again, when you have to mention anything that has to deal with Israel and Jewish people and whatnot, everything comes mad really fast because you will see all of these accusations. The anti-Semitism. No, no. Saying that the modern state created in the 40s, 1940s, is literally the same as something that has the same name in the Bible is insane. If you were to see a Mexican killed, literally called Jesus Christ, you wouldn't think it's the Son of God. This is the same. Stop it. Stop getting into stupid wars too. God damn it. Okay, tangent over. Tangent over, we can keep reading. Then Yakukun tried to take his birthright from the black race and give it to white Jews, a people he had created. Once again, I think I mentioned this before, this obsession with conflating white people and Jews. No. Jewish people don't consider them to be white. I think only black supremacists consider Jews to be white, also Indians. Also Jewish people, they hate the West in general. Yeah, they're not the same. Not the same culturally, especially. And it kinda shows. But yeah, it's at least they're saying it here outright. They're talking about Jewish people, which might be more accurate with their grievances. The nation of Islam connects this claim to the biblical story of Jacob taking a birthright away from his brother Esau. The nation of Islam promises to free descendants of Esau from 4,000 years of Jacob's satanic power. Can we get some satanic power? Is this a Dark Lord candidate? Everything comes together. Everything happens for a reason. Of course I'm memeing. I'm gonna take most of this just as a fucking meme. But remember that people actually believe this. Not gonna say a huge amount, but some people actually believe this. All of the pioneers that scholars and commentators usually fail to recognize anti-Semitic tropes in the beliefs and theology of the Nation of Islam. Okay, sure. I already mentioned that so many accusations and allegations of anti-Semitism, and that is true, but they're actual anti-Semites, okay? Those kind of people actually exist. I'm not gonna say it's extremely common, but I do see it being somewhat common when we talk about black supremacists. Once again, to be honest, if they're just racist supremacists, they're gonna be anti-anything else, so it makes sense. It's cohesive. Frederick the Boer has analyzed Yaqub in the context of the Nation of Islam's politics. He argued that the word Yaqub created The world Jacob created is one where lighter-skinned people want to dominate those who are darker. Meant that white America seeks to dominate black, Ashkenazi Jews seek to dominate Sephardic, Northern Africa seeks to dominate Southern. From Jacob stems race, stems racism, stems everything. Because Jacob theory posits racial antagonism as inherent and existential. It leads naturally to racial separatism. Okay. You say that white America seeks to dominate black. Who abolished slavery in America, by the way? Speaking of history, right? I don't think you will see many locations, many non-white locations in the world where they abolished slavery. So that's kinda funny. Of course, not only black people were slaves. Did you know, by the way, speaking of Belfast and Irish people to some extent, did you know that Irish people were also slaves in America? Funny enough. They also joined, or trying to join, Irish women with black men to create half-black slaves because they could be sold for more money than Irish slaves. Yeah, talk about evil. Do you know that the slavery might not be cool? Holy shit, hot take. Unless you're in prison. If you're in prison, you should be worked to the bone, but that's a different issue. Yeah, not just black people, not just black people. I would say that, historically speaking, Irish have been oppressed for a long as fucking time. Yeah, being neighbors to British, not great. But I will also say that racial separatism, I don't think is necessarily a bad idea. That's not to say it is impossible to overcome, let's say, the intrinsic qualities of your race. Of course you can. However, as we have seen in modern times, time and time again, all around the West, it's not necessarily about race, but people from certain races come with different cultures that are incompatible, and they will not adapt. Still a demographic problem, no matter what you do. And even if we were to agree that it's not the case in the USA, because you have had black people for centuries too, there's still a racial component there that becomes a problem for society. How do you fix that? I'm not gonna tell you. I'm not gonna tell you. In culture, the American author and playwright Ibaraki play in Black Mass, 1965, this inspiration from the story of Jacob. In Baraka's version, Superman creates a single Frankenstein-like white monster who kills Jacob, and then the magician scientist and bites a woman, transforming her in a vampire way into a white devil made for himself. Maybe that's what I need to do to find a woman. Infect her with my demonic powers. From this monster's couple, the white race is descended. According to critic Melanie McAllister, the character of Jacob, now called Jacob, is introduced as one of three black magicians who together symbolize the black origin of all religions. Of all religions. Gigacope. Gigacope. McAllister argues that Baraka turns the Jacob story into a reinterpretation of the first story and a simultaneous meditation on the role and function of art, saying that, as with Faust, Jacob's individualism and egotism are his undoing, but his failings are also signal the destruction of the community. He also compared his version of the story to Frankenstein in its conflation of the 600 years of Elijah Mayhem's history into a single terrible moment of the creation of a monster. I mean, I think that Frankenstein is pretty apt when we say that this story takes from so many different places. So it seems somewhat accurate to me. Again, to Choriz L. Cheney, the string of Jacob has had a significant influence on rap culture. If you laugh, you go to hell. Mentioning several rappers, showing that rapper Cam, a member of the Nation of Islam, in his 1995 song, Keep the Peace, is the Jacob doctrine in order to explain black on black crime and gang violence in American inner cities. Down the lyrics. Can we read this? I think we can. I'm really not knowing who to blame or fault for this tension and mission this gump, Jacob's cavey, the blue-white punk, playing both sides against each other, and that's the real motherfucker. What a poet. What a poet. I will also say, something that I've mentioned many times before, I don't think I'm incorrect when you say this, but I'm a little bit sick and tired of people, especially modern people. This is not about black people, okay? This is not about black people. This is about modern society in general. They cannot fathom the consequences have action. The actions and consequences. I did it backwards. Made a mistake. Happens sometimes. They cannot fathom their actions and consequences. And these consequences could be bad consequences. And they could come to bite you in the ass. Do you think black on black violence is not your fault? I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think you had Whitey telling you to pull the trigger and kill the other black guy. Then again, oh, what do I know about Americans? Doesn't take a genius to understand what's going on, to be fair, but still. He also notes Grant Piven's 1990 lyric in which she announces that his calling was to bring enlightenment to black people and an end to white domination, saying, "Here comes the god to send the devil right back to his cave. We're gonna drop the bomb on the Yakub crew." Drop the bomb. Jack D of Public Enemy also refers to the story in his song "Party for Your Right to Fight," referring to the Yakub story by attributing the deaths of African American radicals, the crafted devils conspiring against the black Asiatic man. Shouldn't it be Asian? I've only seen this word in the context of the story of Yakub. That's really weird. In his 2014 first-time rap, "We Made It," ended with Jim Tronica, JC Raps, "I'm ready to chase the Yakub back into caves," meaning that he wants to drive the evil race Yakub created back into the caves from which they originated. Pretty funny. Pretty funny. Oh, fucking Christ, 4chan. That makes sense. Since the mid-2010s, 4chan began circulating internet memes of Yakub with a bulbous head that were derived from Nubian visual art. Figure became part of right-wing meme culture. In 2023, cartoonist Frank Edward published a graphic novel called Yakub, the father of the white devil race. His retelling is faithful to the Nation of Islam's myth, but with Yakub reframed as a hero. Ed credits Edward's book with much of the online rant's fascination with Yakub. I mean, his story goes kind of fucking hard, I'll give you that. Nine says white supremacist fascination with the Nation of Islam is curious but well established. That the American Nazi Party leader George Lincoln Rockwell, I think I've seen this name before. You have an image? No, I don't think I've seen this guy before. Maybe it was a similar name. Attending the Nation of Islam events, and Wyatt Kallenberg's encounter with the group led him to seek out an earnest religion. See? The law of attraction. It's still at work. References to Yakub have become more prominent than Generation Z on social media. The confusion of elder people. Yeah. And sets Yakub's new life through memes as an example of weaponized irony. I mean, yeah. They have a bunch of notes here. You can buy the pro plan if you want. I'm not gonna. Stop it, there we go. It's kind of fucking wild. If I'm not mistaken, let me look it up. Because it was a little bit weird they did not mention it here. Yeah, Malcolm X. Malcolm X is mentioned. Let's see here. Yep, it's not incorrect. This is actually from Wikipedia. I can bring it up. There is another one. Very famous person. Also related to the Nation of Islam. I remember when this was about Agartha. We'll come back in a second. Everything is connected. So we have here the religious views of Muhammad Ali. He was initially raised as a Baptist before his hyper-file conversion to Islam. In the early 1960s, he began attending Nation of Islam meetings. There he met Malcolm X, who encouraged his involvement and became a highly influential mentor to Ali. Ali, who was named Cassius Clay after his father, first changed his name briefly to Cassius X, and then founded the Muhammad Ali in 1964. It's really fucking funny. It's also kind of weird. Why they have this strange obsession with the letter X? Is Elon Musk a member of the Nation of Islam? I guess I could believe that. Cassius X, formerly known as Cassius Twitter? I don't know about that. And we have here Yeah, later he became a Sunni Islamist. Here we have alleged nation of Islam. I don't think we need to go through this, but yes, the famous boxer Muhammad Ali, also a former member of the Nation of Islam, apparently have a really powerful hold in American prisons, which, I mean, that will make sense to some extent. They seem to have a lot of very strange cults in prison, so that checks out. Let me mention Yaku here. More mentioned than you think, but people don't really talk about it. There's also something similar to this. We're gonna jump to something else. There's also something similar to the Nation of Islam, but I haven't really explored it. Which is the Black Israelites. Black Hebrew Israelites. I want to cover those some other time. The earliest moment claimed that African Americans are descendants of the ancient Israelites. Some subgroups believe that indigenous peoples of the Americans and Latin Americans are descendants of the Israelites. Something similar to what we've seen already. I have to go through this, but once again, everybody wants to be, by default, the people chosen by God. And it's actually not that difficult to become a Christian anyway. So I actually don't get the big deal with all of this. You can just convert. It's not that difficult. You can just go to church. It's fine. They will actually accept you. Modern day Christianity is really accepting, okay? Very strange. I just have another link here. I don't think we need to go through this. The Nation of Islam, their history and beliefs. And a limited version. I think we read enough about this. They give more years for the experiments, but that's kinda it. Every 200 years, they got a new race, allegedly. Okay, alright. True Islam, by the way. Sure thing. True Islam. Crazy. We also have here, opening up, going back a little bit to the meme side of things. Know your meme for Yaku. Partners using Afrocentrism. Checks out. Yakub! And I don't know if I can open this up. Yeah. This thing here is just made with paint. You can't lie to me. You can't lie to me, okay? We can... The abandoned origin we know, we have seen. It is unknown when the first online mention of Yakub first took place, but one of the first mentions of Yakub online in social circles come from the WordPress page Hardesty? I actually don't know how to say that. Hardest? I don't know. Which includes a picture of a black man with a large bulbous head shape on January 8th, 2015, shown below. But as we've seen, this image is actually from before that, from the 90s. Within several years, Yakub's presence online spread to other sites and platforms such as iFunny and 4chan, where he began appearing in memes. For example, on April 23rd, 2015, iFunny user HacksandFacts_2015 uploaded a fact-style meme that stated the Nation of Islam believes that white people were created by Yakub in the Greek island of Patmos, which actually correct. While having the flag of the Nation of Islam used as the backdrop shown below. This thing here, Fact 109. The fact is correct. I don't think their beliefs are factual, but it's actually what they believe. Hey, that's the other one. Another white devil for sure. I mean, he plays League of Legends, come on. Do you think that can be a good guy? Of course not. I don't like League of Legends. As the initial memes about Yakub and the concept started spreading in the mid to late 2010s, Yakub posting took off, with Yakub Maxim becoming a frequent term used whenever someone posted a picture with an enlarged head, as through Photoshop or actual genetic factors. This can be seen in a funny post by user Ben Shapiro. I don't think this is actual Ben Shapiro, I'm gonna be honest. On September 11th, 2021, featuring the image of streamer Teller 1 shown below. Face reveal! Sorry, I haven't done one yet. I've been Yakub maxing, as you can see, with my head. He thinks I look extravagant. Not big enough. You can't hold the second brain just like that. I have to admit that Teller 1's head is really weird looking. For sure. A following of Yaku memes come from the supposed claim that he created white people, with various images and gifs made to express either joy, disappointment, outright rage or pride at his creation of white people and the culture that follows. For example, a game funny post by user free_Philly features another black man that is being called Dr. Yakub in a picture with two white women, with the meme, which the meme claims he just created, shown below. Dr. Yakub showing off the white women he just created. I mean, it's not that bad. The tits could be bigger, what can you say? I like them big. Hilarious. Ah, for crying out loud. Raymond Spencer, Washington DC, 2022 shooting. Where's this always a fucking shooting with these people? Maybe they're actually right. Maybe Yakub made a bunch of evil people. On April 22nd, 2022, Raymond Spencer, a 23-year-old man from Virginia, shot 4 people and then killed himself in northwest Washington, D.C. He reportedly fired at school from his apartment across the street and then killed himself as police arrived. A photo posted on Twitter, led by the D.C. Police Department, showed the gun Spencer used in his apartment, as well as a picture of Yakub hanging his wall, seen below. Yeah, it's right there. It's a little bit dark, but yeah, it's the guy. It's big head Yakub. That's a bit strange. Okay. In the following days, the Yakub poster in Spencer's apartment was revealed by DC police. Many reacted to the image with confusion, leading to Yakub trending on Twitter, and other memes being made in reaction to it. I think that was the latest big explosion of the Yakub meme, aside from modding Agartha Mumbo Jumbo. One such example was tweeted by Twitter user Real Xi Jinping. I don't think it's a real Xi Jinping, I think it's a in-meme account. On April 23rd, who said, "What's with the Yakub PNG on the Simpsons cloud background?" Receiving over 300 likes in 2 days. I mean, it kinda looks like the Simpsons clouds, but I don't know. I mean, 23-year-old guy, who knows? Who the guy was thinking? And I don't gonna scroll too much about that. Average the baby fan. I think they're supposed to be the god scientists that blow up the moon. We have more Yakub. A lot of texts were not really that. But be as that it may, it's not just about Agartha, it's not just about Yakub. Because, I'm sorry to say this, Agartha has been co-opted. Everything, not everything, but most stuff you see about Agartha is actually Hyperborea. Oh, these now places, the very obviously doors up building. It's actually Hyperborea. And it's kind of funny, the first thing I found when I started researching a little bit of Hyperborea was Pink Rabbit Jump Scare. Welcome to Hyperborea, I'll be your guide today. Beep, 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 beep. Really funny when so much brown paper trending recently. Everything is connected, everything happens for a reason. My goodness, what is going on? Absolutely hilarious, okay? Hilarious. So what the fuck is Hyperborea? Well, from worldhistory.org. And this is actually pretty long. We might need to skim a little bit. We're okay, time-wise, but still. In Roman mythology, Hyperborea was the land located to the far north of the known world, and was so remote it was considered even beyond the North Wind. There are legendary races known as the Hyperboreans lived and worshipped the sun god Apollo. I mean, it seems likely. I've seen some maps, some links, they were referring to some Celtic tribes. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. After all, this is just old mythos, as you might expect. But I think they are gonna mention them here to some extent. Hyperborea was thought of as an earthly paradise of eternal youth and abundance, but the Chinese festival was this far-off land to ordinary mortals. The Greeks believed that only semi-divine heroes like Hercules were capable of ever visiting there. Was that one of his labors? I don't remember that. I do remember studying Hercules a little bit back in the day. I had some classic culture classes back in middle school. It was pretty interesting, but after studying that, we were kinda meant to go to learn the classic Greek and Latin, but I didn't. I was more into numbers. Okay, do you have a list? Slaying the Nemean Lion, slaying the Nine-Headed Lernian Hydra, capturing the Cernan Hind, capturing the Erymanthian Boar, slaying the Augean Stables in a single day, slaying the Team Falling Birds, capturing the Cretan Ball, still in the mercy of Diomedes. In the belt of Hippolyta, with the Amazons. I don't think this is related to Hyperborea. Doesn't seem like it. Then the cattle of the three-bodied giant Geryon. Geryon. Three-bodied giant, but the figure is three-headed. That's a bit strange. That is related to Gargoth. Wow, that's a dragon, what the fuck? Dante's Inferno, okay. Still 3 of the golden apples of the Hesperids. Atlantides. Nymphs of the West. Skipping a little bit. Minor bit. Capturing and bring back Cerberus. Okay, alright, I think it's part of the labors, but it could be related. Hyperborea crops. Crops have in many Greek legends, usually to explain the other ways and explainable appearance or disappearance of legendary figures and objects. The historical origin of Hyperboreans may well have been peoples living north of the Black Sea or the Iron Age Celts, living along the New River, who we know had trade contacts with the Mediterranean cultures at least as early as 6th century BCE, before Common Era. Do you mean before Jesus Christ? It's really stupid. Ah, Common Era. Jeez, I wonder what separates the Common Era from before Common Era. God damn it, you're annoying. It's a bit odd. I didn't know there were Celts around the Nile River, but I guess it makes sense. And that candidate for Hyperborea is Celtic rooting. Wherever Hyperborea was located in the minds of the Greeks, it symbolized, like Atlantis, like Amazons and Centaurs, a mysterious and little-known culture that existed at the very edge of the world they knew. Location. The Greeks believed that a legendary race they called the Hyperboreans lived in the far north of the known world. Indeed, they were thought to live beyond the North Wind. The name, therefore, likely derives from the Boreas, the god of the icy North Wind in Greek mythology. Such is the difficulty of reaching this mysterious and distant land. The Greeks believed that the only people capable of ever getting there were 79 heroes like Hercules and Perseus. The remoteness of Hyperborea doesn't necessarily mean the Greeks considered it to be the Arctic region. To be fair, it's actually being debated as the Arctic region nowadays, or in memes. A much more likely candidate said that the part of Eurasia about the area populated with the Scythians, north of the Black Sea, or Central Europe, north of the river Danube. Danube, Jakub, is everything connected? The former, with its entirely unknown peoples, or the latter, which is temperate climate and forest quite different from those the Greeks were familiar with, would both have inspired fanciful tales in the Greek imagination. To be fair, something as high as modern-day Germany would seem rather cold, I believe, for the likes of ancient Greek. So, I think it's likely. Well, this region is traded with Mediterranean cultures, notably amber, originally from the Baltic, slaves, and furs. Yet another possibility for the origin of the Hyperboreans is Celtic breeding. See the final station below on the Celts. It's tasteful art. We don't need to see the dick, but it was there. Boring Hesiod and Pindar. The first mention of the Hyperboreans comes from the fragment number 150 of Hesiod's catalogue, written sometimes in the late 8th century before Christ, or early 7th century BC. Another early source is the Greek writer Pindar, from 518 to 448 BC. We know he is pointing out, number 10, that Apollo lived some parts of the year in the land of the Hyperboreans, specifically the winter months, and he described this place as a sort of a paradise for eternal youth and plenty. If it was the summer, which maybe it wouldn't be correct because it would coincide with high sun activity even in Greece, it would make sense because in the summer, especially in the northern parts of the world, they just get sun all day long. Neither by ship nor foot could you find the marvelous road to the meeting place of the Hyperboreans. Once Perseus, the leader of his people, entered their homes and feasted among them, where he found them sacrificing glorious hecatombs of donkeys to the god. In the festivities of those people and their praises Apollo rejoices most, and he laughs when he says the irate arrogance of the beasts. The muses now dance through the customs. All around swirled the dances of girls, the lyres loud chords. I don't think it's chord, I think it's chord. And the cries of flutes. They wreathe their hair with golden laurel branches, and revel joyfully. No sickness or ruinous old age is mixed into the sacred ways. Sacred ways? Without all battles, they live without fear of a stricken nemesis, but in boldness of the spirit. Was the song of Danae went to the gathering of blessed men, and Athena led him there. He killed the Gorgon, and came back bringing stony death to the islanders. The head that shimmered with hair made of serpents. Okay, interesting. In Limping Owl, number 3, Pinto tells how Hercules visited the Hyperboreans. He chased a dog across the Danube, and he then brought back the olive trees he planted on the side of Olympia, in readiness for the first Olympic Games. The olive, which won the son of Amphitryon, Hercules, rose in the shady springs of the Danube, to be the most beautiful memorial of the Olympian contest, where he had pursued the Hyperborean people, the servants of Apollo, with speech. With trustworthy intentions, he was entreating them for a shady plant, to be shared by all men, and to be garland of excellence in the grove of Zeus, which is hospitable to all. He saw that his garden at Olympia, bare of trees, was exposed to the piercing rays of the sun, and so his spirit prompted him to travel to the land of the Danube, where the horse-raving daughter of Leto, that's a guy, right? Jared Leto? I don't think he has to do anything with this. I received him when he came through the mountain glens and deep, winding valleys of Arcadia. I think I'm mixing Arcadia right now with something else, but it's something that's really familiar from fiction, purely fiction, not mythology. To the commandments of Eurystheus, compulsion from his father urged him on the quest of the dove with the golden horns, which was Tengate had described as a sacred dedication to Artemis, who sets things right. Crossing the dove, he had also seen the land beyond the cold blast of Boreas, where he had stood and marveled at the trees, and a sweet desire for them possessed him to plant them around the boundary line of the horse racing ground with its 12 courses. And we have here map. What map of Herodotus? Very obviously Greece and Italy centric, as you might expect. So we have here the Black Sea, the Meocean Lake, the Scythians, the mission before, which this should be Monday Slavic countries, if I'm not mistaken. No, this would be. No, this is the Caucasus. Hold up, anything actual map. Europe map. Okay, something that is not complete. Ass! God damn it. Okay, something that's... Ah, of course I'm using Brave. Europe. Map. Let that go. Yes, let that go, for sure. Okay, this is big. Okay, so if that's the Black Sea, on top of that, we have... No, yeah, I was right. It's... the current land of Ukraine. Could be Moldova, it could be bits of Bulgaria and Romania, potentially. Yeah, could be Slavic countries. If you go further... it doesn't appear here, the Danube, but yet, we know that's Germany, for sure. It's kind of funny how this is just here a line, who cares? There's something there, who the fuck cares? Like, Africa, something, it's fine, not a big deal. Not a big deal. Kinda funny to me. They have more mentions of Hyperborea. I'm gonna skim a little bit here, if you don't mind me. Associated legends. That seems more interesting. Curiously, despite the demise of the races as they meet the ascending age of Medusa, in Pinter's Oath, some Greeks believed that the last resting place of the Hyperboreans was the island of Delos. Such as an association may have been a confusion for Herodotus' story, but the Hyperborean ambassadors, or it was created to enhance the prestige of Delos, and improve its standing against its rival as the foremost pan-Hellenic religious site in Delphi. I think it's... You say that it's Delphi, not Delphi, but I'm not sure. The strict names didn't follow the same rules as other languages, as you might expect. At the Apollo's Oracle, Delos features in another curious snippet concerning Hyperborea. According to Aristotle, Apollo's mother Leto was not a goddess, the conventional Greek view, but was a she-wolf who came to Delos from the land of the Hyperboreans. Interesting. Looks a little bit too barren, but yeah, makes sense. Delos panorama. The Hyperborean connection to Delos is also mentioned in Axicus, a work often attributed to Plato. Mostly that's Pluto, holy shit. Different kind of guy, still Greek but different. But not found by modern scholars that have been written by the Greek philosopher. The text states that the nymphs Apis and Agartha brought bronze tablets from Hyperborea to Delos, which describe the journey of the soul of the death to the underworld. Herodotus also mentions a pair of similar names, Apis and Arge, the first two Hyperborean virgins who bring offerings to Delos. Interesting. I mean, could be two different groups, but who knows. I mean, both are Apis, Ikerji, and Ergi are close enough, potentially. This could be just a nickname after all. The Hyperboreans come up in another legend, this time involving Croesus, the 6th century BC king of Lydia, who, in one version of the story, was saved from his funeral pyre by Apollo and magically transported to the land of the Hyperboreans. Wow, so easy! Indeed, the people land far to the north became a handy place where unexplained losses end up. In other words, not forever to the world as we know it. For example, the first temple of Delphi was thought to have somehow been acquired by the Hyperboreans, as was the arrow of Apollo, which was thought to have magically healing properties. Healing arrow, is this JoJo to some extent? Okay. Aberus the Hyperborean. We have a specific figure from Hyperborean mentioned in ancient sources. Aberus the Hyperborean, a legendary figure, Aberus lived in the 6th century BC. It was believed he had contacted with the Greek philosopher and mathematician Pythagoras. He is mentioned by name in Plato's dialogue Charmides. I'm trying my best with these Greek names. I think I'm doing an okay job. Although nothing is said of him besides that he has great charm. Herodotus also briefly mentions him, or rather refuses to mention him. I shall not tell the story of Abarus, said to have been a Hyperborean who went around the whole world, carrying an arrow and eating nothing. That's rather impressive. Much more modern Irish mythology. There we go, that's better. In much more modern Irish mythology, Aberus was considered one of the earliest druids. Oh, what was seen as an arrow could have been something else. That makes sense. Scholars today believe he was most likely an ascetic holy man or shaman from Central Asia, places mysterious and far-flung from the ancient Greeks as Hyperborea. Possible. Some cross mythology here. It's I'm not gonna say it's likely, but it's an obvious possibility, I would say. Ow, my eyes. And now, for the Celts. In later antiquity, Hyperborea became associated with the by now better known tribes in Central and Western Iron Age Europe, particularly the Celts. However, even before this, there were relatively sophisticated peoples living around the Danube in southern Germany, contemporary with archaic Greece. Archaic? Just say ancient, it's fine. Wasn't Pindar speaking of the early Celts when he mentioned Hercules crossing the Danube on his way to Hyperborea? Certainly, the forts of Central Europe would match Pindar's description as a place with marvelous trees. The rural sites of the early Celts that sometimes contain examples of art and objects, likely made or inspired by the Greek and its first Mediterranean cultures. Strong evidence there was contact between cultures in northern and southern Europe, the 6th century BC or even earlier. Intended the location for Hyperborea is not Celtic Central Europe, but Celtic Britain. I mean, being an island also helps for these locations for sure. The Greek writer Diodorus Siculus, writing in the 1st century BC, quotes information from the early Greek writer Hecatus of Abdera on the subject of the Hyperboreans. Those who have reading about the ancient myths, Hecatus and 13 others say that in the regions beyond the land of the Celts, there lies in the ocean island smaller than Sicily. This island, the account continues, is situated in the north and is inhabited by the Hyperboreans, who are called by that name because their home is beyond the point which the north wind blows, and the island is both fertile and productive of every crop. Every crop? I'm not so sure. It has an unusual temperate climate, it produces 2 harvests each year. Does it get kinda cold in the winter? I'm not sure. Moreover, the following legend is told concerning it. Lanta was born on this island, and for that reason, Apollo's honor among them, and above all other gods. And the inhabitants are looked upon as spirits of Apollo, after a manner, since daily they praise this god continuously, in song and honor him exceedingly. And there's also, on the island, both a magnificent sacred present of Apollo, and a notable temple, which is adorned with many votive offerings, and is spherical in shape. The Hyperboreans also have a language, we're informed, which is peculiar to them, most friendly disposed towards the Greek. You know, they say also that the moon, as viewed from the island, appears to be a little distance from the earth. I don't think that is true, right? I have been, how do they call those? You know, those times in the year when the moon is somewhat closer to the earth, so it seems a little bit bigger, just a little bit. Not really that noticeable in my opinion. Interesting nonetheless. I guess it could be the Celts. Who knows? I'm not sure if the British Islands are actually beyond the northern wind. That seems incorrect to me, but who knows? Is the island here described breathing and spherical temple Stonehenge? Yeah, that's possible. Certainly, in the much longer days of northern summer, could explain the Greek believed, the Hyperboreans enjoyed the perpetual sunshine. It would also explain the connection with a particular worship for Phoebus Apollo in his guy as the sun god. In his guise as the sun god. I think I skipped the S sound. Which seems to be connected with the Hyperboreans, where they were placed geographically. Probably, we will never know exactly where Hyperborea was for the ancient Greeks. And perhaps, even they shifted its location over time to suit their increasing awareness of different peoples living further and further beyond their own familiar world of the Mediterranean. Interesting, somewhat more tame than whatever we have seen thus far, because ancient Greece and not Nazi people or Muslims, modern day Muslims. So we have, of course, the Know Your Meme site. Parts of a series of Narcissism, which makes sense. We can completely skip about origin. We can... we shouldn't skip entirely location and description, because we see new stuff here. We can ignore... Okay, they mentioned the Kazakh steppe. Interesting. Mention Celtic stations, Britons, and others. Russian Soviet writers and authors believe that Hyperborea was a lost civilization in modern-day Russia, possibly located in Siberia. A little bit too far, I'm gonna be honest. However, some Scandinavian authors identified themselves as the Hyperboreans. This idea was especially strong during the 17th century in Sweden, where the later representatives of the ideology of Gothism declared the Scandinavian peninsula to be both the Lost Atlantis and the Hyperborean land. They had everything! So greedy, goddammit! People described Hyperboreans as superhuman beings. Never the music absent from their ways, letters clash and flood the sky, and everywhere made in crosses whirling, and that disease nor bitter old age is mixed in the sacred blood. Far from labor and battle they live. If only was that easy. Despite commonly associated northern location, Hyperboreans were believed to inhabit the sunny, temperate, and divinely blessed land of eternal spring, with the oldest myths portraying them as the favorites of Apollo. German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche stated that modern Germans are Hyperboreans in the Antichrist. Is that good? That's a blanket. Let us face ourselves. We are Hyperboreans. We know very well how far off we live. Neither by land nor by sea would you find the way to the Hyperboreans. In the north, ice and death, or life or happiness. Interesting. But also to be the origin of the Aryan race. Hyperborea, along with other terra incognitae, were studied of research by the UNERV and other Nazi organizations. Once again, classic. They love their mythos, which was kinda needed to unify people under a single, not necessarily modern religious belief. I haven't drunk that much today. What made me like? I need to stop. Aesthetics. Hyperborea's geographical appearance is something associated with the first map of the North Pole, created in 1623 by Flemish geographer Gerardus Mercator. Let's say this. Why is this not safe for work? Hold up. What? Yeah, it's just a map. Why is it considered not safe for work? What the hell? Yeah, you're fucking with me. Okay. Let's hear. So we have here. Okay, this is the North countries. This is Greenland, I think. This is Cape Horn, so this should be modern day Canada, I'm assuming. And this is modern day Russia. They're mentioning Asia here, but yeah, this now it's just Russia. And they have some stuff here. But that seems to be incorrect, because I don't think there's any land in the North Pole, just ice. Interesting. Wait. What are these small things on the sides? I'm not quite sure. Soviet writer Sevolov Ivanov, really a Soviet name in this case, written several articles depicting the daily lives of Hyperboreans, whom he interpreted to be Kievan Rus people and the past inhabitants of modern Russia. I mean, the thing that is said about Nazis, the same about the Slavic people. You need some sort of unifying mythos. You need the funding myth of a culture for it to prosper, no matter what you do. In Ivanov's artwork, titled Vedic Russia, Hyperborea is filled with massive wooden architectural constructions, snow villages, crash alien spaceships. Everything comes together. Domesticated mammoths and bears, green plains, pagan deities, symbols and creatures visually appearing in the distance or in the skies of the mythological land. Sample shown below. Making up about. This is the classic image for Hyperborea. This looks rather Odinistic to me, I'm gonna be honest. The Allfather here. This could be just Norse, I'm gonna be real. And we have, yeah, the spaceship. Pretty cool looking, not gonna lie. Spread. Yeah, well, we're gonna see some obvious imagery here. Hyperborea has appeared in 4chan posts and discussions since late November 2008. The occasional shitposts about the Eastern Nazism and conspiracy theories. Symbol shown below. Yeah, I can see it. That's the black sign. That's the funny cross. Hyperborea and instrumental to gain popularity on iFunny in 2020 with video videos, caption GIFs, and memes regarding the descendants of the Hyperboreans. Sample using Kong, for instance, was uploaded on iFunny by user Kachun on January 25th, 2021. What received 100 likes in 9 months. That's rather unimpressive. Hyperborea is just Wakanda for white people. I mean, yeah, but every single culture has similar mythos, so I think it's that insane. On YouTube! On February 26, 2011, Holy Order uploaded a video titled Slavic Iron Dream / Slavic Hyperborean Mythology / Golden Age of Iron Race, which showcased videos of Ivanov's artworks. The video received over 175 views and 4,000 likes in 10 years. I will have to admit it, the artwork goes kinda wild, makes you wanna play D&D, for sure. On February 14th, 2021, the Guardian uploaded a video titled Apu Discovers Hyperborea. During initially depressed and on the verge of suicide, Apu Apusdaja suddenly finding Hyperborea and starting his new life there, in Montage. In Montage's Little Dark Age by MGMT playing in the background. They love this kind of sounds for the memes. The video received over 400,000 views and 26,000 likes in 8 months. Shown below, we're not gonna see it. Probably fine, but I don't risk the copyright. I'm sorry. In March 20th, 2021, streamer The Mains uploaded a video titled Return to Hyperborea, showing American bodybuilder Rich Piana taking Wojak to Hyperborea is running up the hill by Meg Myers, playing in the background. The video received over 92,000 views and 5,100 likes in 7 months. The video has been removed. Shame. April 20th, 2021, YouTube channel Alexander Vasilevsky uploaded a video titled The New Order, Anthem of Hyperborea. Hoi 4, that's Hearts of Iron 4. The video showcases one of Ivanov's artworks on the map of Russia as Bit to Bit by Jan J. Mognik. is being played, garnering over 132,000 views and 3,500 likes in 6 months. Talking something featured in various memes about Hyperborea. Shown below, not shown below. I've seen this one before. 2 Germans against Slab meeting in Hyperborea. Hey, that guy is Chinese. You kinda lied to me. Get in, Tank. We're going to Hyperborea. Very stringent and schizophrenic memes. But I actually don't mind those. Of course, okay, we have those. That's the map, I believe. A figure that's related to a lot of these memes is this individual. And I do believe this image has been used to potentially portray different people? I'm quite unsure how to properly say it in this case. This is a little bit convoluted, so I'm gonna try to explain as best as I can. I actually don't have anything to read here, but this is shown for both Hyperborea and Agartha, being, as you can see, the classic Norse archetype. Pale, light blonde hair, and white eyes. Blue eyes. I saw the white and I said white. My white eye is Blue Dragon. That is incorrect. There are many connections to this image. On one hand, apparently, going back to the Jakub mythos, in some tales they mention fights against the Nordics, which I'm not quite sure if they're meant to be the aliens, which usually when they show you this figure, it's also related to the Nordics aliens. But it's kinda meant to be white people from the future that travel back in time, but they have space capabilities. It doesn't have to make any sense, because nothing here makes sense. So if you don't get it, it's fine, I barely do it myself. Some people compare this guy to, where I got this image, from Mikitaka in Jojo's Bizarre Adventure Part 4, Diamond is Unbreakable. There's a strange guy that happened to be strange looking, he says he's an alien, he has strange powers, but it doesn't seem to be quite in his stand. So once again, everything is connected here. And of course, since I just love alien stuff, because I think it's really funny, we had to talk about the Nordic aliens once again, which I mentioned before, but this is just about the aliens. From routesnorth.com, Nordic aliens, what are they, and are they real? Whether or not you believe in aliens, it can be found to entertain the idea of the vastness of the universe and what may be living out amongst the stars. In the case of Nordic aliens, the stories about them have been circulating for decades. Since the 50s, there have been various reports by eyewitnesses who claim to have seen them. Others claim to have been abducted. It's modern-day Vikings, when you think about it. So let's take a look at these otherworldly beings and find out what exactly they are. And above else, are they real? What is a Nordic alien? Nordic aliens are human-like extraterrestrial entities that are said to resemble people from Northern Europe. There are a variety of names such as Pleiadians, Nordics, Tall White Aliens, Space Brothers, Unblood Humanists. Space Brothers, God, that goes fucking hard. It's not these guys, these are the usual green guys. Don't know why they have this image here. Greater than your average Scandinavian, yeah, that's actually incorrect. This is probably closer to the usual depictions. Nordic aliens form a notable part of UFO and abduction beliefs in European countries. It's a phenomenon that has supposedly been witnessed by numerous people across Scandinavia. What do Nordic aliens look like? Nordic aliens are said to have human-like appearance and closely resemble people from Scandinavian countries. Think tall, pale, blonde hair and blue eyes. Basically, it's everything you would expect from a stereotypical Nordic person. Just in alien form, and apparently significantly taller, as we would say, more than 7 feet, which is well above 2 meters. 7 feet, that would be 210, right? Give or take. Also rumored to be very skinny, with long legs and large foreheads, something to describe them as being attractive. The important part with aliens is not if they're real or not. The actuality is, can you fuck them? The answer is always yes. Yes, you can. Nobody will stop you. Maybe they will. Who knows? Another notable characteristic about these entities is that they are known for being friendly towards the human race, and not the bad. Other alien species, such as the grey aliens, are known for being hostile. They're mallets, they're not like us. Look at them, look at them. They think they can compare to us. No, they're ugly, of course. They will never reach Hyperborea. Everything is connected. The history of Nordic aliens. According to Heroes Wiki, really? Alright, we're going to deep sci-fi here. The legends of Nordic aliens began in 1954, when Mother heard strange noises coming from outside. She dismissed the noises, and she thought it was her two children messing around in the yard. The mother went to check from the window and found her children staring at the sky. The children told her that they saw something flying around above the house. She spotted the object. It was a UFO with Nordic aliens observing them. Shut and terrified, the mom pulled her kids inside the house to keep them safe. Maybe it was an American spacecraft, you wouldn't know. Moments later, she stepped outside and the object flew away. Yes, I know what their motive was for watching them, but some speculate that the Nordic aliens were examining the Earth. I mean, sure. Like, we cannot stop fucking around with insane tribes in Africa or Southeast Asia. Oh, but they're so strange, I wouldn't look at them. I'm gonna shoot you with an arrow. If you have a spacecraft, not that big of a deal. Inside there is footage of the woman spotting the UFO, but for unknown reasons the footage was allegedly taken off air. Suspicious. A bit suspicious. Because the first sighting, the gathers that followed mostly happened in Europe during the 50s. There have not been many, if any, sightings outside of Europe. Where do the Nordic aliens come from? Isle of Man. There are various theories as to where the Nordic aliens come from. Some claim that they are from the planet Venus. Others claim they come from the constellation of Taurus. Sure, why not? They come from Hyperborea, who cares? Or from Agartha, who knows? A few people who claim to have been abducted say they were told by the Nordic aliens. I think that's a typo, right? They should be a that, not a hat. That they were visiting Earth from the star cluster known as the Pleiades. Isn't this also Greek mythology? It sounds familiar. I know that Europa and Grand Blue has a Pleiades skill or jet attack. Who knows? Who knows? I'll find that everyone can agree on. You're definitely not from Earth. What else do we know about these Nordic aliens? Nordic aliens are sometimes described as being magical with telepathic powers. They've also been described as paternal, watchful, smiling, affectionate, and youthful. What a bunch of nice people. So what do these magical beings want with us? Some claim that the Nordic aliens simply want to observe and communicate with humans. They also have concerns about the Earth's environment and trusted for world peace. Look, if they're environmentalists, I don't want them here. They have to go back to... We have demographic problems. Nordic alien abductions. Parking for aliens only? But outer space or Mexicans? Alien abductions sound pretty scary in reality. Think about it. An unknown species kidnaps you from your home, push you into the UFO, and then conducts experiments to you. Luckily, most of the accounts from people who have been abducted by Nordic aliens say that the experience was a positive one. So don't worry if you come across one with these aliens. You will most likely be safe. If you're lucky, you're gonna get the thuggery from them for some reason. Can happen. You can get the unsavory people. Joshua Adamski, for example, claimed to have been abducted by the Nordics, and they flew around space together. It may sound unlikely. There are many people who believe in his story, and he has written several books and provided photographs of his experience. Can we see them? We might need to look those up. Another legend abductee was Howard Menger. He claimed to have come in contact with the Nordics, and has written books about how he interacted with the extraterrestrials. Holy shit, they're ugly. Nordic aliens in pop culture. There are references to Nordic aliens in numerous movies, TV shows, and video games. If you're interested in Nordic aliens or science fiction in general, it might be worth checking this out. In the show People of Earth, in TBS comedy series, the Nordic alien belongs to one of the three main groups of aliens. The other two being reptilian and grey aliens. And there's actually 4 groups. You're missing the insectoids. They look really fucky. Nordic alien has also been depicted in an episode of Scooby-Doo. In the episode titled Aliens Among Us, I think named Sheila O'Flaherty, was disguised as a blonde Nordic alien. The alien was also accompanied by two other types of aliens. You guessed it, reptilian and grey aliens. In Stargate, a sci-fi television show from the late 90s, the protagonists come across an alien race known as the Asgard. They look like Nordic gods in appearance. They're actually small grey aliens. Ah, liars. The technology is real. If you're a gamer, you might have heard of the game Perfect Dark. In the series, evil aliens disguise themselves as the more friendly Nordic aliens in order to trick humans. Breaks. That's crazy. I actually didn't know that Perfect Dark was about evil aliens. Never got into those games. So, are Nordic aliens real? Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, there's no conclusive evidence that proves Nordic aliens are real. There have been videos on YouTube with people claiming to have seen them, but otherwise, there's scant evidence to support the existence of Nordic aliens. It's definitely fun to speculate, but it's ultimately up to you whether or not you want to believe in life beyond the world we know. But who knows? Perhaps these Nordic-like creatures are walking among us, and we just haven't realized it yet. Okay, so who was the guy that had images? George Adamski. Let's see here. George Adamski. 1891 to 1965. Okay, I don't think those would be digitally altered, I'm gonna be honest. Let's see. Photos. We're doing it live, baby. We're doing it live. Let's see, images here. History.com. Okay, it's not loading for me. Shame. Ah, that's Pinterest, what the fuck? Adamski case. Let's see, they have a video, they have some images. It's photos. They only talk about them, they didn't really show them. What about Wikipedia? Did I open this? Yeah, I did. I can't really find anything here. A couple of images of a saucer-looking thing, but yeah, not images of the guys. That's what I wanted to look up. So I guess potentially a sham. Sad. Sad to say. Where are the North when you need them, huh? Where are them? Nowhere to be seen. How could they do this to me? Oh boy. That was a strange thing to cover today, huh? And this is pretty much everything I have. We ended up going a bit longer than I expected, I'm not gonna lie. But pretty weird shit here, huh? Now we get to understand the memes a little bit better, but I have to admit this has been an absolute massive fucking trip. We thought we would see just silly fucking memes on the internet, but we ended up getting into insane Nazi stuff, Nation of Islam mythos, aliens, creeds, everything is just fucking connected here. Absolutely fucking bonkers. That was actually really fun. It was actually really fun to do. Very funny. Very funny. Do we believe in Agartha? Do we believe in Hyperborea? I actually have no clue if those are real or not, but I think it's pretty funny. It is pretty funny nonetheless. Now we see the true nature of these memes. Yeah, it's a little bit early and all that, but yeah, it's all we have for today. I don't think we should cram here the strange stuff from not to on the moon. Which is also kind of a weird thing too, but you know how it is. So, what is the plan for next week? I actually have no fucking idea. I haven't looked up really anything. I pretty much just did some grinding of boss here on my own in the set. I managed to get the Saiyan set. It took me a lot, not gonna lie. But finally I can get Goku and Vegeta in the second save to actually do good stuff. So that's nice. They're really fast too, which is also in welcome addition. I'm not sure. Been considering maybe starting Sacred Gold on Monday. And we move Pokemon back to Wednesday. That's a possibility. We could do some demo stuff, we could do some older stuff. We could do some weird one-offs here and there in general. We could potentially start Castlevania again. I actually haven't played Vanilla Order of Ecclesia. We could do that, but I think I'd rather go with Symphony of the Night or some of the PS2 games. Since people are talking about Castlevania and all that, could be a good idea. I can also look up the CTI Zelda games, because that's also gonna be a fucking massive meme. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I have a lot to think about. There's a bunch of stuff we could do, but I don't know which one to do first, right? That's usually the problem. Once again, it's summer, so I just kinda want to play RPGs and call it a day, because I like playing RPGs in the summer. But if I just play RPGs, that's gonna be a big problem. That's gonna be a big problem for me. Just playing RPGs on stream is not a good idea. Once again, having Pokemon is fine, because everybody knows Pokemon, it's not a big deal. People are going, oh yeah, you're here. Cool, whatever. It's not a necessity just having to follow everything step by step closely. So that's fine. So that's also why I don't want to start something like Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets for the Game Boy Color. It's a fun RPG, it's kinda short, but still an RPG. It's still an RPG. Not really too difficult either. If it's the first run, it may be somewhat challenging at some points, if we don't know what we're doing. But I do know what I'm doing, kinda, so it shouldn't be that bad. I don't want to play anything that's too intensive, because it's kinda hot. And I don't wanna overexert the computer, which I think it's a fair thing to say. Having to stream to 3 different sites, actually quite demanding, okay? Somewhat demanding. I want to keep working still on short stuff. I want to potentially make and release to the public a short/clip channel, potentially next week. That could be nice. Eventually will happen. I have to say that making shorts takes me far longer than it should, but I mean, it's whatever. It's not a huge deal. Still, I kinda want to play Jump Force. I think it's a cool game, but we need something as buffer. I know it's just Jump and not Dragon Ball, but we just finished Blue Sphere, right? We need something else in the meantime. It's gonna feel too samey back to back, and then some people might not care, but I do enjoy variety. And I know Jump Force a little bit longer. So if we go... Did I do the thing? I guess I didn't. There we go. And we go to How Long to Beat. And we go to Jump Force. Extra 14 hours. That's terrible. Main extra 24. Completion is 50. Get all the side content if there is, so it's gonna take a little bit. It's not gonna be like finish out 3 streams and we're done really fast. I guess it's possible, but it's not the intention. We can also look up ROM hacks. Usually, you'll see a lot of Pokemon ROM hacks, and some of them are really good, for sure. But I wouldn't mind exploring something else. And I know the other day I also mentioned the want to play something that feels really Japanese is modern Japan setting. But I haven't looked up anything like that yet. What if we look up video game set in modern day Japan? Of course, no Yakuza games. That might be a little bit too intensive for us. Persona 5, that makes sense. Took instead of the EX Plus, alright. Documentary Sessions FEN Core. But I'm looking at the screenshot, it kinda looks just like Cyber Sleuth. Kinda funny. The world ends with you. It's on Switch. I played it on the DS. I got close to the end, but I never finished it. It can be difficult to play on emulator, but not impossible. It's also kind of an RPG, right? So maybe eventually. Also been thinking of Final Fantasy spin-offs. What if we do this? No. The world ends with you. 24 hours main story. Final remains is shorter, what the fuck? Second one, Yakuza games, another Persona, Cyber Sleuth, of course, which we played. Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, that's only 8 games. That's a video. I don't like that. 15 best video games set in Japan. Oh, brother. Silent Hill F. Shit, it's one of these. Okay, I got you. Forza Horizon 6. Neo 3. Assassin's Creed Shadows, yeah, we're not playing that one. Rise of the Ronin. Faint Samurai Remnant. The World is With You, Neo. Steins Gate. That's where I dunk. That looks a little bit weird. Could be interesting. Shenmue. Never played Shenmue. Don't think it was big here at all. Just an RPG, right? 19 hours, not that long. Like a Dragon Ishin. Yakuza Like a Dragon. Sekiro Shadows died twice. Ghost of Tsushima. Persona 5. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna easily find something that catches my eye, which is whatever, honestly. I've been feeling I want to play a bunch of DS and GBA stuff, but not the usual, Pokemon, Castlevania, whatnot. Something else. Yeah, I have to admit, the DS had a huge library, which is really nice. Some of the games were rather unique. Very cool stuff, in my opinion. Very cool shit. But of course, they had a bunch of RPGs that I also liked that played, so that could also be a problem. I'm gonna need to check the DS archives and see if I find something that I find interesting. Maybe we could do something like a racing game. We love racism here, right? It's actually very funny. It's actually very, very funny. But one of the first games I was meant to stream and never happened was Super Mario World. And I mentioned, this was some time ago already. I mentioned, oh my god, what the hell? Lag? There we go. Holy brave, what happened there? Playing some racing games, I was thinking of some Mario Kart. I haven't played Mario yet, okay? That's so strange. Well, aside from the usual retro stuff, but still. I was never a huge Mario player, I'm gonna be honest. But I do enjoy the spin-offs, I think they're good. On top of that, I've also been thinking, hey, the Wario games are fun. We could play Wario Land 3, we could play Wario Land 4, eventually. That's potentially cool, we could do that. I think that would be nice. I don't think they're that long either. I close because of course I did. Let's see here. I need to look up more stuff for the Game Boy Color. He has some good stuff too. Warland, let's see. We're on for 6 hours. It's gonna take me more because I'm actually kinda bad at some of the stages. Warland 3, about 10 hours. Kinda cool. It's kinda cool. We could do that. But yeah, it's... The next week is a little bit in limbo yet. Still. So, you know, we'll have the schedule up on Sunday as usual, so for that. I will come up with something by then. Not a big deal. So I guess that's gonna be everything for me today, so thank you for coming. And you had some fun. I hope you learned something here about Agartha, Hyperborea, Yakub, Nation of Islam, Ancient Greece, aliens, I don't know, something. I know it was really confusing. But I do think it was really fun. And we're coming back on Saturday for the usual yapping session. We're gonna be covering current events and all that. It's gonna be firing, but mostly peaceful, you know how it is. It's the current thing after all. There's also some tech-related stuff we need to cover, which I do think it's also quite important. And we'll get to more games on Monday. Potentially Pokemon Diamond, but we may move it to Wednesday. So until then, you know the rules. Don't let these insane people lie to you, okay? The truth is out there. Everything is connected. Don't fall for the tricks and lies. And take care.